Easy, who I'm pretty sure is easier than me. Earmuffs, kids. Adults only. Just the way I like it.
That's right. It's another Tuesday night at 10 o'clock. Lenny, Melnick, FantasySports.com, the Legend Sports Network. And kids, you're going to need the earmuffs because JR Slice is on. And if your kid is from New York City, you may not want to hear what JR has to say to them. So, protect your children. We have a few people out there tonight. Douglas, Doug Boyle, who's become a regular here. I think it's like third or fourth in a row. Appreciate it. Doug, I did catch your show this last week. I know you had some audio problems, but I enjoy those shows too. How are you doing tonight? And are you ready for your next show?
I'm as ready as I'm going to get. We're working on a couple of things to get that through. It's kind of funny because we had that discussion off air. And I've been not happy with the audio on any of them.
And then the last show, right?
The last one was my fault. It was my fault because it's hard to actually produce a show while you're directing the show, while you're the star of the show. You let some things fall. And I've been there. I've learned the skill of looking around and paying attention is that's half the battle. And hey, that's why sometimes I miss a thing or two. We also have Jonathan from Draft for Upside. And John, is that the name of your show at 11:30 and your regular show?
Yes, that's right. The regular show is Draft for Upside, and the morning show 11:30 to noon on the Lenny Melnick Sports channel here, the Legend Network. That is called First Sip.
First Sip.
Because you can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning, my friend.
Hey, that's true. Good point. Well,
there you are.
I forgot to click my video. See, back to like I said, Doug, I'm not always paying attention. And I've learned I'm getting better with the YouTube thing. If I start with my link in the background, that ends up being the little, thing at the beginning of the show when you're out there searching YouTube. Not that anyone's just hunting us down, but, I
guess we can announce it here is that Josh and I had been talking. They play DFS all the time. I used to play DFS. I run a DFS-style yearly league, so we're going to run a DFS-style listeners league. People want to join, that sort of thing. Head-to-head points based on DraftKings. We're going to announce it. Well, I guess this is the first public announcement of it, but we're going to look for 10 or 12 players from viewership, listeners, that sort of thing. You can do DFS style, but over the course of the year.
I'm kind of interested just to watch. I'm kind of curious about the scoring. But before we go on, Mr. JR Slice, Jim up there in Maine with a different cap on today. I think this is your fourth show. I think we've had that Eagles cap the other shows. How are you doing up there in Maine, Jim?
I'm actually doing great, and I wore this hat because I thought Cha-Cha was going to be here, and I asked him what I should do differently, and he said, "Well, you got to change your hat." So I was like, "Well, I'll put my Red Sox hat on," but I don't see Cha-Cha, which is unfortunate. I don't know who that was last week, by the way. That was my twin brother. I wasn't here last week. I had to work on Wednesday.
No, hey,
it wasn't me.
I've been there. I have had an alcohol brother before. I've had the drunk brother. That bastard will get you in trouble all over the place.
All the time.
So it's hard to say, which is like I said, especially when you start earlier in the morning, you can run into that brother much quicker in the day. I had a blast. Now, that was Dan, and Dan. Now, I don't want to start anything else. Dan said he just asked her. I think you thought he was questioning your knowledge because you mentioned Babe Ruth a few shows back. He said because he didn't have video, he was on his phone. He just was curious if you were the same person. So, I don't know.
It was a slow decline because Andrea was getting kind of upset with me, asking me if I win and stuff. And then, the brother that drinks too much was getting a little wait a minute, because I don't, and then I just heard someone say something about me, and I'm sorry, it was my bad.
And I'll ask this in a minute. Lou, welcome. I haven't seen you around on the round table for a while, so that means that your fiance must be out working or something?
No. I just wanted to come say hi.
All right.
I was going to show you my giant slice of New York style pizza, but it took so long to get to me that I'm down to the crust.
I got you. Did the rat deliver it? That poor rat that you see delivered all the pizza in New York? Is that who brought it to you?
No. This is leftovers from yesterday. What's happening, fellas? How are you?
Just leftovers. So that's good. So we have a good crew. Like I told you, John. Now Jonathan's gonna be home here soon. We just have him while he's in his car driving. I think he turned his video off because we were seeing the lights and all that. But
well, I tell you what, man. Like I finished this beer dinner in Detroit. It's about a 52-minute drive home, and I slammed a 15% alcohol barrel-aged beer before I left, and I got maybe a mile left in me before that hits me, and it's about a mile and a half home. So here's the hoping.
There you go. Can you coast from here? I mean, are you even?
I think I can.
All right, you could coast. All right.
If I get up to about 80 on this 25, I can coast the rest of the way. It's fine.
Well, all right. Just be careful. Be very, very careful. I mean,
it's all good.
Detroit.
It is right. It's Detroit, right? Nobody cares about Detroit.
Yeah.
But the Tiger or Detroit. Just quick questions before we lose you.
Yeah.
I'm not a Detroit guy. When's the last time we had a Detroit championship? Would it be the Pistons?
Yeah. No, the Wings won one after the Pistons won. Yeah, the Wings won in. Gosh, I forget what year that was. Yeah, because the Pistons. It's been since 2000 since the Pistons.
The Penguins in 2007, 8, or 9.
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
2007, is that what you said? Kind of, you think?
2007 to 2009 range. They beat the Penguins.
All right, so you have a championship in this century. That's good.
Yes, true story.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, now does
and
it
basketball? The bad boys too. They won.
Yeah, but the Bad Boys didn't do it in the 2000s, did they? Wasn't
Bad Boys 2 did. The Bad Boys 2 did.
Oh,
yes,
yeah, you're right.
Rasheed
I forgot
Wallace,
about that one. I was thinking
Rasheed
about
Wallace.
the original.
Tigers made 2 World Series. They lost them both, but they made them.
Yeah.
They did. They made the World Series with Verlander in Game 6 going up to the plate as a batter and the whole town laughing in the World Series. That's cool.
Yeah, they lost to the Cardinals, I think, in 06 maybe, and the Giants in 2012, I think it was.
Yeah, that's about right.
I'll tell you what, that one team, I'll never forget. I think I was in the military, but the one team that won, it might have been just the AL championship, but that ran around and like pretty much high-fived every fan. I remember watching them and be like, wow, this team was incredible. I don't remember which year that was, but it's too bad they didn't win the World Series. I know I was rooting for them.
What year do you think that was, Jim?
I don't recall.
I bet it was 06.
Was it 06?
06, yeah.
All right. Who would have been the manager then?
Jim Leland.
Jim Leland.
Okay, that's right. All right. That's all I could picture. I know more than manager since Spark Anderson. I kind of kept track. Leland was a good manager too.
Smoky Jim, baby. Smoky Jim.
We do have Cha-Cha has joined us. So welcome out there, Cha-Cha. You look like you're, I don't know, are you under the covers? Oh, he's got his mic muted. You're muted. You're muted, you damn amateur. You rookie. There you go. Now he's back to muted. Are you under the covers, Cha-Cha? Nothing but silence from the damn amateur. See, Jonathan, I appreciate you coming on. When you have to leave, I get that. But yeah, that's what I tell you. The round table takes some time to get started. That's why these shows take so long.
It's all good, my friend. I'm about a block away, so I'll let you guys enjoy, and I will go hear it from my wife after I left her with all 3 kids for the night. So
hey, keep us updated on the beer, and when you're in the Dayton, Cincinnati area, let me know.
Yeah, I will see you by the end of April. We will have a beer together in person, my friend.
And Lou knows I'm a 420 baby. I was born on 420, so my birthday's 420. So if you're going to be in the area,
that's really the only reason why we're friends.
Right?
I like it.
My birthday's 420, so keep me up to date.
I will be brewing with a Cincinnati brewer on 4/19, and I will be staying the night and be in town on 4/20, passing through Dayton.
All right. I'm right. I'm not that far from 70-75, the big intersection there. There's a Hooters right there. Maybe we can meet at Hooters. Now, Hooters doesn't have any craft beer. Actually, the hairless hair. The hairless, no.
They do?
The Hooters down here is nicknamed Whalers. You can only imagine why. I'm just saying. It's not Hooters does it. It's more Whalers. But the hairless hair is right off of 70-75. Their brewery, their beer I enjoy. So
curly fries.
We'll meet up somewhere. Thanks for coming
guys.
on,
have a good night.
All right, bye. Cha-Cha, and we've lost him. We've lost him. All right. I guess real quick, I missed some of Lenny's. Cha-Cha's back. Cha-Cha, talk whenever you get back.
Is he doing this on purpose?
Probably, because he saw that Boston hat.
I don't
It's your
think he's
fault.
doing it on purpose.
I don't either.
Easy.
Yeah.
If you have some, I mean, I don't want to rush you, but
Nope, I have a million
I'm
topics.
only going to be here for about 10 more minutes, so I
Okay.
want to chew up some topics with you fellas. If you wish.
Obviously, the big topic was the signing today, and I know everyone will talk about it from a million different ways and all that. So I don't even know how much we want to get into that. But I guess the part I want to get into is, and I'll just start with Jim first. Jim, I mean, do we anticipate? Do we over-analyze? I mean, everybody's talked for 3 months about Manny going everywhere but San Diego. A rumor here or there maybe, but and then it happens, and then
Hold on 1 second. I got to cut you off, Easy. You
Go ahead.
did my podcast this morning before the signing. What did I say?
The rumors had already started today. The rumors
are going to sign Machado and Harper potentially.
So you think Harper also now?
Yeah.
I mean, so will we know that tomorrow?
Quite possibly. And then they're going to trade 2 of their outfielders, maybe even 3
Okay,
of them.
but my point is, for the last 3 months, I realized starting this weekend the rumors happened, but for 3 months we weren't talking about him going there. We've been talking Yankees and everywhere else. And Jim, that's what I want to say,
bro. We talked about the mystery team. We talked about the
everybody thought he wanted to play for a winner.
Team was obviously. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Nice hat. Jim, I'm asking you, do we waste too much time in fantasy talking about shit that's never going to happen?
I probably 100%, but I mean, if it's not talking about the big cities, you're not probably pulling in a lot of audience, in my opinion. But no fun to go to Kansas City. I mean, who's going to probably listen to that? Or, I mean, even Minnesota.
Burn that hat.
Is the hot stove not
burn the hat? Cha-Cha says one word finally, and it's burn the hat. I love that.
Yeah, back to the Philly hat.
The hot stove. Huh? MLB hot stove. That's what it is. It's speculation.
100%.
That's what it is. That's what you're supposed to do.
Right. Okay. And I get it. But at the same time,
what are we speculating?
Okay, but I come at this as a fan of fantasy. I get it as baseball people that you guys want to really get into it. As a fantasy fan, I don't know. I don't. None of it helps me. Once he signs, I can make decisions. I mean, once he signs, I know where he's at. I can put value on him.
Well, Machado. It depends. Easy. We're talking about Machado and Harper. They're still going somewhere from pick 8 to 14. If we're talking about, your average free agent, then sure. I get you.
Most drafts haven't happened. So most drafts are still a couple weeks away. Which, a good question. Doug, I'll ask you, how early in football, everyone wants to draft the day before the first game. In baseball, when I think baseball's a little different, but how early is too early, or how late is too late to draft for baseball, Doug?
I mean, I do. I play in a couple dynasties and I play in a couple of regular drafts. And to me, the start of the season is always February 15th for dynasty.
Right.
It's like it gives you Valentine's Day with but for the regular stuff, you should draft about.
I thought none of the shit we talk about dynasty doesn't even count. I'm sorry, dynasty's a different game.
365, 24/7.
Right.
If somebody was going to do dynasty, it's important that you make sure that you have your draft before their other drafts where the other guys play. You don't want to do it 2 weeks before the season. You want to do it early enough that they can go draft their regular games, their yearlies. That's
right.
That's all.
So then back to the original question, what's a good time to draft a standard fantasy, redraft league?
March 1st-ish.
I like the third week of March personally. Yeah. I like to do it right before the season because I used to have drafts in the beginning of March and then a guy gets hurt in spring training. And
but it's not like football where they're playing physical. I mean,
it doesn't matter. Anything can happen.
No. But anything can happen. Anything can happen the first game of the season.
What if you had your draft 2 weeks ago and you drafted Lindor 4th overall?
Okay, that's not my question. My question is,
but it is because
no. My comparison is football preseason versus baseball preseason. We can question. I'm assuming because there's some physical contact. Maybe I'm wrong. I've just never looked it up. Do you think? I guess I'm quickly assuming that more football people get injured because of it being a physical game. Where in baseball, truly in spring training, they're just playing baseball. I mean, they're not hitting.
They're doing the same thing in spring training as they're doing in the regular season. They're just not playing 9 innings. They can injure themselves running first, making a catch, whatever it might be. Pitcher can get Tommy John surgery, blow at his elbow just as easily.
Right. Yeah. All right, Jim, when do you like to draft for redraft leagues?
A second or third week. I'm about the same with Lou. You know, like see a few weeks.
I have a draft. Sorry to cut you off, but I have a draft on the 24th of February, and I am not happy about it.
Right.
No, I wouldn't be either.
It's too early for me.
100%.
Right.
And it's an industry league, which sucks even more.
Right. Cha-Cha, if you can hear me now, I think we've heard you complain about the hats that, no, loses a New York hat, so you're fine. One hat you're complaining about. Can you hear us now, Cha-Cha? Are you there?
I could hear you the whole time. I just trying something new tonight. I'm on a Kindle, so
you're for reading.
Your Audible is great. You sound great tonight. So
I'm on a Kindle, so I just try because my phone died, so I had nothing else to use. So
I did not know you could do Hangouts with a Kindle, so that's kind of cool. I'll be real honest, and you sound good. So now, are you able to see us or just hear us?
I can see and hear you just like using the iPhone. The only thing is, for whatever reason, you're lucky you just get to see my dog and not me.
But I'm still good looking. I want to make sure you see that.
No, I see you guys. You guys looking good.
When do you think what do you think is a good draft time for a redraft league?
I like to draft like a week before the season starts, if possible.
All right, so you can do that. Okay, so you want to go as close to the opening day as you can get. So
this year a little different because a lot of the drafts are probably going to be right around when the season starts. So I have to make accommodations for that for most of my leagues.
Okay, and I guess I missed something. Do we have like some?
We have two games in Japan, the 22nd, 21st.
Okay,
22nd.
That's what I'm saying. I thought the 22nd, right? The end of this month. But
my latest draft is on the Sunday, the 17th, I think.
Yeah, Luke, Jim, we heard you. Yes, those games count. Those are real games.
Okay.
So I'd have to ask, what two teams are they, Doug?
That's the Mariners and the Oakland A's.
It's Ichiro's final games of his career. He signed a minor league deal with Seattle. He's going to play in the 2 games in Japan and then retire.
Okay, so it is just 2 games. It's not a full 3-game series. 2 games. And then they'll come back and be ready for the 1st of April or the end. Okay. But I did hear I didn't realize it, Jim. I'm like you until I really thought they were exhibition when I heard the date. And then something I heard yesterday made me go, damn, those sound like real games then. So
I'm sorry. The reason I was questioning Dan was because one of my leagues, I knew I was drafting on the 24th. So they're definitely not going to count in that game or in that league.
Well, right. Obviously, if your league's drafting after that, it won't count. So
they all count.
Some leagues will do retro.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Some leagues do. I've never seen a football league do that. But I've never drafted in a baseball league though before they played, so I really don't know. So
I didn't.
Probably all count.
I've actually had leagues that draft after those like early games, and the stats actually count. So I remember one year in my AL only league, we drafted prior to, and I think Oakland, when Josh Reddick was on the A's, Reddick had like 2 home runs in the series, and I drafted Reddick, and I was in first place like before the season actually started because I got the 2 home runs from Reddick. So I do know some leagues are like they do incorporate those stats so that you don't get shafted by drafting players and only having the 160 games versus the 162.
Yeah, right. If you're in a roto league, it doesn't really make a big deal. Yeah, 2 more games.
Right. In baseball in general, I don't think 2. I mean, no one's gonna draft somebody a little. How much earlier would you draft somebody that had 2 home runs in a game?
No. I mean, again, I didn't draft him because of it. I needed a 4th outfielder. I got into an auction league. I just got him relatively cheap. But I've had a roto league come down to 1 home run or 1 RBI. It doesn't really matter.
Right. You can't draft that based on a game that happened already, and you hope those 2 help you.
But I'm just saying that they have to count because the leagues do come down sometimes to something as simple as a run or a home run.
Right. Okay. Then I'll ask Jim again because Jim's the one that's going to be one of these drafts. Jim, what would one player have to do in those 2 games for you to go, maybe I will move him up? You understand my question? I mean,
yeah, 100%. I'm probably what Lou said, have like that 2 home run game or the 5 RBI game. I don't believe this is a roto league. I believe this is a head-to-head league. I'd have to check into it. I think the 2 roto leagues I was in last year are both gone and done with. So that's another thing. This was all new news to me tonight, to be honest with you. I forgot about those early games. I knew the season started early. The whole season started on a Thursday, I believe, last year, guys.
Yeah, ESPN usually starts on a Thursday.
And it's doing it again. I think all the teams play on a Thursday this year. So this is all fairly new.
In head-to-head, you can just lop the 2 games off. It's no big deal. You're playing a 7-day series. Just drop them. Who cares?
Right. Malpal is saying, and I think he's right. Right. In a roto, they have to they have to count because people on those teams have to have so many games. So I think that would be the truth. I think in roto specifically, they'd have obviously head to head. The problem would be if those same players are going to play extra innings those first week. I don't know. If they're going to come back and play also that first week. But so you're saying if someone hits 2 or 3 home runs, maybe, or like you said, 5 or 6 RBIs in 2 games, what about a pitcher? What would a pitcher have to do? Doug will ask you, what would a pitcher have to do in one of those games that would make you move him up? I can't imagine much more, but let's say move up around.
The big thing would be like if you went into the season with something where something was unclear, like you don't really know who's going to close in Miami, and the first 2 games, Steckenrider closes and does a good job at it.
Well, in this case, we know the 2 teams, so yeah, you could play that by ear a little bit.
And in Seattle, there is question of who's going to close. Although we think it's going to be Hunter Strickland, that's exactly Doug said it perfectly. That's exactly what I was going to say with the pitcher. It's tough. You're not going to draft a guy because he threw 7 good innings with 10 Ks and a win. But if you see something like that with, let's say, Strickland gets save opportunities those first 2 games and locks them up, you haven't drafted yet. Oh, well, it looks like Strickland is going to be the closer, so sure, I'll take a shot on him. Or sometimes there's positional battles, and you don't know who's going to play. And let's say a guy gets started in game 1 and he has a good game, gets started in game 2 as another good game, and this obviously isn't for your studs, but maybe a corner infielder, middle infielder, a utility spot, a bench player, whatever it might be. If you find that a guy might have the inside edge to more playing time because of how he started off the season, he might be worth another round earlier too.
We're looking at like the Colorado second base situation between Garrett Hampson and Ryan McMahon. If one started a couple years ago, it could be very important to have a possibility of some course field time.
Right. Cha-Cha, other than an injury, what would cause you to drop a player or maybe a round or 2 that's playing in a couple early games like this?
Other than an injury, I wouldn't drop anybody at that point.
Yeah, I kind of said the same thing.
I mean, I think what it's going to be is it's just like when you have the All-Star week, like Yahoo, just going to add, instead of being a 7-game week for your teams, it's going to be a 9 or 10-game week with Yahoo. So you're just going to have to, you got to get, your stats should be a little bit more than normal for that week. So it'll tell you the dates. It's going to start from the 20th, and it's going to end up on that Sunday. So you're just basically adding 3 games, 3 days.
Am I the only one? I'll fix my monitor here in a minute. But am I the only one that thinks Cha-Cha sounds phenomenal tonight? I don't know. He sounds like a professional. Cha-Cha, you sound very.
I think he always sounds wonderful.
Yeah. For the iPhone, is that what you're saying?
Do I owe you money? Who do I owe money?
No, I'm just saying.
You owe you money.
I never even thought about using his Kindle. Well, I had this sitting there for the longest time, and when my thing blew out tonight, I just jumped on it, and then the only thing is I didn't know how to. I said it's not going to work, and here it is. I see you guys better on this thing, then obviously it's a little bit bigger than the iPhone.
Right.
I miss seeing you though, Cha-Cha.
I miss seeing you.
I don't want to mess with it. Like I could mess with it.
No, you sound good.
But it's who cares? I'd rather let you look at my dog than me.
Okay. All right. Well, unfortunately, my camera went out. I'm restarting my camera while we're going on, so I'll get that going. A quick thing, because I know we only have Lou now, probably a few more minutes. I know some of you were here when when I went over me and Chris's 5 commandments of fantasy skills. And I guess I'm kind of interested in and believe it or not, it was even harder for us to come up with 5 uncommandments. I don't know if any of you listen to our show. Believe it or not, we think there's a lot more things people waste their time on than actually are skills they could get better at. We even tried to put them in an order. Let me name all 5, and then I'll just get you guys' opinions. And the key is we also tried to not add something that was a negative to one of the positives. But I'll do first the 5 commandments, the skills: identify value, roster management, drafting, risk management, trading, negotiations. We thought those were the 5 important skills. Me and Chris tried to come up with the 5 most unneeded skills, or the most time waster type skills that most fantasy people don't need to deal with to a point. We thought the number 1 time waster / non-skill that gets talked about a lot, or people will talk, and that is, and this was a little hard to word it properly, but we worded it as in chasing weekly headlines / coach speak, meaning we think that's one of the most wasted time things, and that's what we came up. We thought that was like number 1, that more people get all wrapped up in that weekly stats or that weekly coach talk stuff that it actually takes away from, the actual results of playing. Number 2, we thought people get too wrapped up in scoring and format. We decided it's important, meaning you need to know it. A good fantasy player, just tell me the scoring in the format and I'll be competitive. Meaning this going back of PPR, non-PPR, roto versus head-to-head, meaning in the long run, I think, me and Chris thought it was both. Just tell me the format and let me go on and draft for it and I'll be fine. But I've been listening for 3 months where people have been arguing back and forth roto versus head-to-head. Technically, I know there's preferences, but it doesn't really matter, we felt. Number 3, we thought too many people waste time worrying about weather and field conditions. And then we even put in there, to a point, somewhat home field advantage. I know in baseball that can vary a little bit more just because of the way the park is. Number 4, we think, and again, this has nothing to do with dynasty or anything like that, but in redraft leagues, football and baseball, we thought a lot of time gets wasted on prospects and rookies, that people will spend a lot of time reading, researching, thinking, and the odds are, how many rookies in either sport really make a difference at the end of a season? Number 5, which, this hurt me a little bit, Lou. We came up with sit, start / tinkering with your lineup, meaning me and Lou did a show on sit start every day or every week, but in the long time, but I also agree, really, you know what? Put your best player in, it's kind of, so those were the 5 time waster, the 5 most uncommandments we could kind of come up with. We came up with others, but we kind of thought, well, those are just negatives of other things, meaning, drafting, there was things we thought were negative about drafting, but really, if you're just good at drafting, it shouldn't matter. My first thing is, and I'll go to Jim first. Jim, are there any there that you don't think belong, that are truly not time wasters, that you think are valuable for a fantasy player?
No, I think everything is important, to be honest with you. And what I was going to say on the very first question, and I learned this last year in my baseball leagues, because I ended up, it's a long story, but so I really think following every day. I play fantasy basketball too, and I think Lou does too.
And I play basketball.
Oh, you do? Sorry.
Yep.
With baseball and basketball, you really got to almost follow and look at everybody's stats every single day. That's, to me, the most important thing. Because if you miss up on just one player,
too, man. Yeah, I mean, I know you're not much of a hockey guy. Obviously, no. I do that show with JJ. Yeah. Any of those sports that are playing 3-4 plus times a week, yeah, I'm with you. You got to be on.
How much of that is just a player playing in general, though?
It's also with those. I mean, with basketball, I feel like maybe I'm a little wrong slice, so please interject if I am. For the most part, you have the same 4 or 5 guys mostly starting. Obviously, there's some interchangeable things. But with regards to baseball, the lineups change constantly, and that hurts or helps the player's value. In hockey, a guy gets more power play time or moves up from the 3rd line to the 1st line, things like that, that if you're not paying attention to, it will hurt you.
With basketball, it can almost come down to games played. For example, I can't even get I swear to God, whatever. The guys that are good know even if Boston has 4 games that week, you play the head-to-head, and even because it's just like you were just saying with Roto, it could come down to 2 points or a rebound that may win your head-to-head matchup. And I play in a pretty competitive league in basketball, and I'm always the middle of the pack, but I feel like the people that are getting picked up, I'll look, they just have so much more knowledge than me because they can check every day. I work, of course, every day, and I have a kid, so it's a little tougher. So I think that's the most important thing with baseball and basketball. That's why I've always said that football is kind of easy.
Okay, and you know what? I'll kind of help. This was Chris's main thing, and I think Chris is more a football guy, so I think he was tweaking it more towards the football, where people are like, "Oh, somebody had 200 yards this week, so I'm gonna trade for him, my number 1 draft pick to get a guy." I think that's kind of where he was going more in the football.
I would agree with that.
I mean,
you would?
Football?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Part of the game. The big part of the game is whoever the new primary running back is. Everyone's jumping on that guy every week. And
right.
That's just the way fantasy football goes.
And
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying
a lot of times it doesn't pay off. I mean, yeah, the guy who had 200 yards this week, the odds are he's not going to have that again. I'm actually one of those. If I have the guy on my team that just had 200 yards, I'll look to trade him and try to, something like that. But I can see where, and again, I think you're right for sure. In basketball, I look at my basketball team sucked during the football season because I'm not spending enough time on my basketball team while I'm still dicking with my playoffs on my football team. So I lose game. I end up not sitting even lineup some nights, so I agree. As soon as football's over, bam, my basketball team's right on point, so, yeah. And I do agree, again, you're probably right. Teams where you're setting lineups, daily or, play more, you have to be on the top of it a little more. But even then in basketball, there's some coach talk that means nothing. You can, I know you're shaking your head, but I've heard things, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. And then, you know what? No, it just doesn't turn out that way. But,
well, that goes back to what I said. That boils down to even going through and seeing the minutes, like the coach talk thing.
Right.
I don't really listen to the coach talk thing.
Minutes mean more to me than coach talk.
Yeah, I will check. I don't have time to do it, but I wish I did, and I'd probably win more. But every day, you'll see this guy start getting maybe 25 minutes a game. Because 25 minutes in a basketball game, as you all know.
Recommendation to you, Slice, for that?
Yeah.
Use DraftKings for that, man. Look up your players on DraftKings. They're built around the daily game, right? So they're constantly updating it.
That's good. That's a very good tip there, Lou.
It's always the minutes. It's always, you always see their minutes, what they've done recently. And although you can check out game logs and whatnot, I find that DraftKings has the most updated profiles on players because it is a daily game.
Oh,
right.
Good point.
The profiles are updated. It's the stats are updated, right? I always remember DraftKings, they would always have a blurb they'd write about a person, and that was always outdated. But the stats were always right up to the minute.
I think Lou's talking the value, the dollar. I mean, if you got 2 guys and you're trying to make a decision, and one of them on DraftKings is going for, 35, and the other guy's going for 24, I think they're going, hey, obviously they like him better. So, Cha-Cha, I'll ask you, what do you think about? And again, I think that one is geared more football, but do you get all wrapped up in coach talk, or if even a baseball player, we've seen that where a baseball player, has 2 or 3 big games, but his season doesn't really turn on that. What do you think, Cha-Cha? Do you spend a lot of sweat equity on one good week of a baseball player?
I may, depending on what kind of league I'm in. If I'm in an 18, a couple of my leagues are real deep. So if I'm in a deep league, like in my 18-team league, everybody out there is important to me. But if I'm in a 10-team league or 12-team league, I never really sweat it unless my DL, if my team is all beat up, I might have to grab a guy that's, got half for the week kind of thing where he has a big week. But in my 18-team league, I'm really watching every single player pitching. Yeah, everybody means something because every week, basically, it's so tight, and the league is competitive. You have 18 people killing each other to try to get players. That kind of league, yes.
Yeah, you have to pay attention. Somebody, and I'll ask, I don't know who was in there today, or maybe nobody. I happened to be in the chat room for a second, and somebody had asked, in an 8-team league, when do you start drafting pitchers? I put my 2 cents in. I think the smaller the league, the more important pitching is, personally, because I think I feel in a small league, I'm jumping on pitchers early because I think there's more hitters out there. Am I thinking wrong, Cha-Cha? I mean, what's your opinion on a small league?
I'm with you on that 100%. I seen that too. I was trying to figure that out. I was like, 18 league. Yeah, I would probably just keep drafting.
I might even take pitchers in the first 1 or 2 rounds and then fill out.
I would.
Easy. I actually personally would not change my strategy up at all because of it. Like in a 12-team, 15-team, 10-team, I'm taking my 2 pitchers in round 3 and 4. I'm going to do the same thing in an 18 league. Maybe even one in the second round instead because of what you're saying. I agree with you. And with Cha-Cha. In a smaller league, there are more hitters. They're more readily available. And I do think what will separate people in the smaller league like that is their pitching staff.
Well, but see, that's my point. In a smaller league, if a pitching staff's what can separate you, wouldn't you want to take them early? I mean, I guess. Whose dog's bark? Is that Cha-Cha's or is there fireworks going off in California? I know Ludes gets.
She don't want to pitch it. She don't want to pitch it. She's on my lap. She's on my lap.
My dog doesn't bark that loud. You wouldn't
unless there's fireworks.
No, even if there's fireworks, she runs and hides. She doesn't bark.
Jim, what about you? Do you now? And maybe let me change the question because Lou just said something there. I never go into a draft with what I would call a strategy. And maybe that's wrong. And that's my strategy, meaning I'm going to go in. I want to be flexible a little bit. And if I quickly realize, you know what, 4 pitchers went off, let's say I'm drafting 8 and 4 pitchers went off early, I'm definitely going hitting or vice versa. I don't know. I don't know. I'm always competitive and I win some home leagues and that type thing. But I don't know. Jim, are you a guy that goes in with a strategy in all your drafts?
I usually do. Once again, I think it depends on your league. Everybody knows that, I'm sure. I mean, because some leagues have hold, saves, the saves hold category together. Yeah. But we're all following most of the same people. I mean, starting pitching's flying this year. I've been told for years not to get starting pitching. So last year I joined my 2 biggest competitive leagues, and I kind of waited on starting pitching. It did not work for me. So unfortunately, I'm probably going to jump on some starting pitching probably fairly early, and I probably shouldn't say that since some of us are in some leagues that actually are in this chat room.
Say what?
But
yeah, but don't worry, they're all thinking the same thing as you.
I mean, starting pitching's flying. I mean, it's crazy.
I agree. But at the same time, if I'm picking 8th or 9th and no pitchers have been taken or only one, then usually I'll look and go, all right, I'm going to go pitching. I don't know. What about you, Doug? Do you go in with a specific strategy?
I agree easy with you when you said that you have to be able to adjust based on what's going on. I'm 100% with you, but I still think going in with a strategy is a good option, but you have to be willing to adjust on the fly based on how your draft is going because they are all different.
All right. Doug, what about you? Do you go in with the strategy?
I usually go into a draft. I pick best player available until there isn't a player I really, really love. And then based on what I look like, I'm going to make the move one way or another to solidify the strengths and weaknesses of my team. I really don't see the thing with pitching that you guys do. I think that in an 18 league, there's like 20 pitchers you like. They're going to be divided up in such a way. Who really wants the number 44 pitcher? Because there's only going to be 56 pitchers taken. It's like just play off the, take 1, 2, 3 wherever you get them. Play off the waiver wire. Who's ever hot? You're gonna probably do better than drafting that like the Patrick Corbins or the.
Yeah, Doug's right, man. Think about how deep the waiver wire is. For spot starters, that's huge in an 18 league.
I mean, you're an 18 league. They have nine spots. So you figure everybody's got 3 or 4 relievers. Maybe they have another. So 4 of the 9 spots are going to be relievers. So you're looking at 5 starters per team, maybe a 6th or a 7th to rotate out if you don't have the thing. There's going to be lots of good waivers. And I was thinking this year, unlike everyone else, there's a lot of really, really – there are a lot of $1 pitchers that I really sort of like this year.
I would love to know those, actually.
I'm right. We need a list, Doug.
I've done a lot of studying, and even the $4 or $5 pitchers are kind of not so hot. But I've seen so far.
Is that here's the thing about it: the $4, $5, $9, $10 pitchers are never any good. That's why they're only 4 or 5. If they're good, they're going to be 20.
Yeah.
It's that middle of the pack people get wrong. And so you're better off taking a guy at $1 who's got a 50-50 chance of gaining you value, even if he only pitches like $6 worth, than buying an $8 guy and having him pitch like a $3 guy. And then use that to run away with something else somewhere else. The middle round of pitching is nothing to be trusted, and it hasn't been anything to be trusted, I think, in the history of baseball. I mean,
I kind of get that. I kind of get that strategy. Cha-Cha, what do you? Let me ask Cha-Cha. Cha-Cha's been playing a long time. Cha-Cha, what's your opinion on middle price pitching? I mean, are you better off going studs and duds in pitching?
The problem is it isn't about if you don't play in an auction league, this is a mute.
That's true.
Conversation.
Right.
And I'll be honest with you. I try to change some of my leagues this year. I asked every single league if anybody wanted to do auctions. Every single league that I try to talk to people into it, I got such a negative reaction. I've got people quit on me already. They said, if you even think about going auction, we're quitting. And these are guys that have been in my leagues for 15 years. I don't know why I've got that reaction, but I don't get it. I thought maybe that'd be a cool thing to do.
People are set in their ways, man. But I mean, I think it's fun to do both. If I had a choice, I'd probably go with auction. At least personally, I like to have a choice, kind of.
The thing with an auction league is I've done them. I think the way to do them and to really like do what Doug says and stuff, where you get those dollar pitchers and all that and that fun stuff, is doing it live, doing it online. I just don't find I don't like doing an auction, and I understand that's why I think a lot of the guys, they don't want to sit in their chairs for 6 hours. If we do it live, you have.
Well, that's the problem with an auction, is that they could take 7-8 hours to do.
Yeah,
it's hard to get people to commit to that when they got kids and things.
Well, not only that, a lot of people that are into auction drafts are people in 5 leagues, and if you got 3 auction drafts going on a weekend, you've tied up your whole damn weekend.
Oh, I mean,
absolutely. Most home people I talk to, they don't even know they're an auction. I mean, it's not even an option. That requires much more studying. Where if it's a snake draft and so-and-so's not drafted yet, they know that's value okay and they're done. They didn't have to study. Where that auction draft, you don't have that. It's hard to measure what's coming up or what. I mean, it's a whole different thing for home league people.
I did my first auction last year, and unfortunately with a very competitive group, and I didn't end very well in that. It's definitely, and I studied. I remember talking to Lenny.
All auctions are a pain.
Oh, it's a pain. And I read the book, I don't want to promote it, but I had all these, what I thought auction values were, in my head. So I'm going into this auction draft, my very first one ever, and nothing was even close. These guys that were 25, they were going for 40, because you have the guys that are going to do the studs and the scrubs. And then it was very difficult. I actually rejoined the league this year. I didn't think I was going to. I'm probably handing over some money, but I'm going to give it another go at it. And this may or may not be my last year, Cha-Cha. So I love fantasy baseball. I can understand why some of the, your fellow people are so pushing against it so much, because it's definitely difficult and very hard to study. In my opinion.
I just think in home league, it's almost impossible. And also I think obviously Cha-Cha, I'm curious with you, when you say people don't want it, does it change with the amount of money that's the league cost? Do you find that the more money people spend, the more they want to go snake, or the more money they spend that auction gives them a better chance?
No, I don't think the money had anything to do with it.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. I actually raised the league up. I think it was $25. I went from 75 to 100, and not one single person. And Jim is in that league. I just crossed over, and
that's an auction league.
No, it's not an auction league. Okay. I'm just saying the league that we played in that you joined now. Because I had ran 2. One was Lenny's league, and the other one was Trucker Rob league. So I just combined the leagues. So now it's 1. And I just asked everybody if they would go to 100, and everybody was right away. Yeah, sure, no problem. So and Cha-Cha, I'm gonna be in that league. So if you still have the opening, you're number 14. He's it, Jim.
Woo-hoo. There you go, easy, fired up.
He's number 14.
I meant to do it the other day. still dealing with my daughter and this dog and Mrs. Easy's birthday. We had Mrs. Easy's birthday tonight. And,
congratulations.
Having one of those. What do you mean, congratulations? I never, in my wildest dreams, I'd ever think I'd be sleeping with a 59-year-old someday. You know?
Yeah. Well, then you haven't.
Jim, luckily she's asleep right now.
You'll probably be with me one night, so that's another 59-year-old.
There you go. Right. I told her, I said, this is it, because I definitely never was going to sleep with a 60-year-old when I was a young guy. So
you better catch me for December 30th this year.
Hey, come on. I mean, I remember being like 12. How many of us remember that when you're 12 years old, that one neighbor lady? Come on. Don't we all have that one neighbor lady that was probably only 28, but you thought, oh my God, she's hot, but she's so old. You know what I'm saying? And now a couple 28s, I'd be no problem at all. But, when you're 12, and now I'm,
228s doesn't even add up to 59.
Yeah, well, that's true. Right. At my age, 48, that's 10 years younger than me still. I think 48, I'm right in there. I mean, what's her name?
That's 56, by the way, there, math man.
You're 56?
No,
228.
Okay, I got you.
I'm pretty bad with math, too.
The chick from Friends, didn't she turn 50 here the last week or so? I think someone said.
Jennifer Aniston?
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad 50-year-old. Come on. I mean.
Oh.
She's fine.
Yeah, I would agree. That's I'm just saying. I think in my time, Cha-Cha, we're older. I don't know. Yeah, Raquel Welch stayed hot for a long time. I mean, way. And I mean, she's older now. I think she's, she's old now, but I mean, that woman hung in there a long time. I'm just trying to think of hot 65. Hey, guys,
Susan Sarandon is still fairly good looking. She must be 60.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
She's over 60.
Cha-Cha, who am I thinking of?
Iris Chacon.
Who was
Iris Chacon. She was a beautiful girl. Used to dance on channel 47 and 41 before we had cable. We used to go to channel 47 and 41 to check her out all the time. Me and my father.
I don't think the Fonda lady, what's her, why can't I think of her first name? Jane Fonda? I mean, that woman's in her 70s something now too, I think. I mean, she's still in her 70s, but I'm just saying, I mean.
Pretty cool.
I'm an old man now, so now this stuff, I had the Farrah Fawcett. I had the Farrah Fawcett poster. Cha-Cha, did you have the Farrah Fawcett poster?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, I did too. And the Sports Illustrated, I remember before there was porn, we had the Sears catalog, we had the Sports Illustrated,
Sears catalog.
What do you mean? That was bras. It was. I
had the Sears catalog. I'm not that young.
Yeah, that was long before Victoria's Secrets. I mean, we had to go with what we had, right, Cha-Cha?
Yeah, Penthouse had the greatest articles ever.
Right. We had I think you had that conversation one day because I'm like you, Cha-Cha. I mean, I remember having. You had that one buddy that hit him somewhere in his garage, and you knew how to get in there without him being there, and so you could borrow the magazine, it's like, the good old days. I remember walking to school one day and looking back, I always wondered, were they watching? But I remember going past the trash can and looking in and going, and trust me, they were set on top, but, just walking by and just kind of glancing over and you go, man, there's like 5 or 6 Playboys or, men's magazines will go that route, just on top of the thing. And you're like, but I'm walking to school, so in your mind real quick, you're going, do I grab them? Do you leave them in the trash? Or someone watching? It's like, because to a young kid walking to school, I mean, a young boy, that was gold damn near,
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So
that was well before locker searches and stuff. So, I mean, I'm sure you could have hit it between, the social study book or something.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't have the lockdown shit when I went to school.
Let me tell you, the mail wasn't always in the mailbox. Let me just tell you that. Those brown mailboxes you see, the brown ones, those are called relay boxes. We used to call them porno boxes because a lot of people used to keep all their magazines from their wives in those boxes.
Well, Cha-Cha, plus, I mean, you remember Playboy coming in the brown wrapper even, right?
Of course, yeah.
Before it went to the cellophane and all that, it was that plain brown wrapper. So.
Really?
Yes, I did.
Cha-Cha, I think you have Netflix.
I do.
I think it was Netflix. Have you seen the Hugh Hefner documentary. It's done weird. It's like half documentary, half a real show because there's actors, but then it cuts into real video and stuff. It's like 8 episodes. Even Mrs. Easy, very interesting. I mean, it goes all into the history of the magazine and some of the political stuff that they actually, came out with and all that. Actually, I would highly recommend it to anybody. I mean, it's more about the magazine than the women. You know what I'm saying?
I seen it. It's really good.
Very good. Very good show. So I don't know how we got off on that. Scoring. The other thing we put on here is scoring the format, and we kind of were just hitting on that. But do we waste too much time? It's back to the same thing. As long as I know what the league is, I'm good. I'll draft that. But do we spend too much time arguing about which is better or worse? I mean, is it a waste of time to argue over head-to-head versus roto versus daily versus weekly?
No, because if you're in the league and it's head-to-head, you know what you're getting into. The same with roto. I mean, people will complain about it, and even rules and stuff, people will complain about it. But again, this is the time to complain about it before the league starts. Once the league starts, then that's the golden. That's it.
Right.
Game over.
I think we lost Doug for a minute, maybe, but because he's always bringing up. I just don't do Dynasty. Dynasty has not interested me yet. But. So this question to me and Chris try to stay away from Dynasty in standard fantasy, and I'm talking all of them. And basketball to me might be the one that's a little bit more. So Jim, I'll get your opinion on this, but do we waste too much time talking about rookies and prospects in all but basketball? I'm thinking basketball because there's only 5 players a rookie can really come into the league and do something. But really, how often does it happen in football, basketball, or football, baseball, and really even hockey? I mean, rookie, I don't know. Do we waste too much time talking about prospects and rookies, Jim?
2 to 3 years ago, I would have agreed with you 100%. But once again, I think it all comes down to time, like how much minutes a rookie's going to get. I mean, rookies in football have definitely in the last 2 years, because I remember when Elliott came in, my buddy's a Cowboys fan, and I was like, it's just not going to happen. We haven't seen a running back since Adrian Peterson, and then boom. And then now you have another one the next year. So
okay, let me stop you right there. Here's my problem. I agree with the 2 people you just said. My problem is it was just 2. Meaning, how much time can you? I get that you're going to have that superstar in football, maybe, but in the same point, most of the time they don't work out, and even when they do, like you just said, the last 2 years has only been one. There hadn't been. It's not like there's been. We've had what?
Gurley, Dalvin Cook before he got hurt was good. I mean, he was helping people win. I'm mixing with.
Barkley.
I'd have to go ahead.
Barkley's
that was my other guy.
Okay, yeah. And that was my thing. Zeke and Barkley. I get. Everyone knew they were first round guys and they went to the right spot. But my point is, at that point, you're done. I'm just saying, in football and baseball, both though, I hear people for 3 months talk about all these rookies, and it's even like combines are starting for football. I've watched the combines now 2 years in a row thinking it's going to help me, and I go, shit. Half those guys don't even make a team, let alone be a fantasy, a fantasy payoff player.
No, and I have to actually disagree with you with basketball, to be honest with you.
Well, basketball is the one because there's only 5 players. So one guy can come in and just make a difference. But even then, even in basketball, if you went and didn't draft a rookie, see, what people will forget is, so you skipped on Barkley, you still got somebody else in the first round. It's not like your team sucked if you didn't have him.
Unless you got Bell. Unless you got Le'Veon Bell instead of Barkley and was like, well, I'm going to go.
Okay, but that we all know that wasn't a mistake. It didn't work out, but it wasn't a mistake. My point is, we talk about, in baseball especially, we talk about a bunch of guys that, for fantasy purposes, if you don't draft any of them,
you're okay.
Your team should still be competitive.
Yeah, I agree.
So I shouldn't take Vlad Guerrero in the 3rd or 4th round this year?
Oh, I no way am I.
No, I know.
Definitely. Yeah, I think you're saying that because of the draft last week. But my point is, I'm not a rookie guy, so maybe that's coming for me. But my belief is, though, we waste a lot of time talking about rookies and stuff like that when there's other players we could talk about that are more likely to affect your fantasy team overall. That's kind of where me and Chris were at. Is, you know what? We talk months and months about these, and I'll even say the Barkleys. We talked off season last year about Barkley, and he paid off, but the problem is he's just one player. A lot of other rookies didn't pay off anything. So I don't know.
Doug, take over for a second. I'll be right back.
As a representative of somebody that plays Dynasty, I actually that number 4 is the one that I actually agreed with you the most on, because even in what we do, you have 25 minor leaguers. Sure, you got to fill those roster spots, but I watch people like, when it's their turn to draft and they're like panicking over whether this 19-year-old is going to be better than this 20-year-old. Should I pick the Cuban over whatever? It's like I tell them all the time. I say 60% of these guys are never going to make the pros. Another 30% aren't going to be really, really valuable to us. All you're doing is filling these roster spots and hoping somebody pops.
Right.
That's all you're doing. And most of the time when you're drafting, even in the leagues like that, you're drafting those names just so you can trade them for better players.
But again, you're bringing up Dynasty, which I said really doesn't count. But
I'm saying, like, even in Dynasty, they people waste too much time on it.
Well, I'm not going to argue that either. I still think you have to talk about
the guy. Well, you have to talk about it, but they'll try to debate two guys that all they know is a blurb they read in BP and a blurb they read on MLB Pipeline, and they'll spend like 4 hours debating what their pick should be.
Right.
So I see what you're saying. Maybe, Doug, in the second round, instead of taking the younger guy, you may take in a dynasty like maybe a sophomore that was good or a second-year guy that was good last year, or maybe even a third guy. Is that what you mean? Instead of taking maybe like a Bo Bichette in the second round of a dynasty league? You know what I mean? Like
I'm trying to figure out. People will do what you're saying is wrong. Is like you should always be playing for this year, at worst next year, unless something really is awful, and people will rebuild their teams for 10, 12, 15 years. It sounds crazy, but they're just so into the minor league guys that they spend every year turning over their good players for minor leaguers, waiting for that one dream year where they have 11 guys come up at the same time. And they run away with stuff. And I've seen that happen. It's kind of cool, but
my problem with dynasty leagues is I hear more dynasty leagues closing up shop than I hear how much fun they are. I mean, now in baseball, it seems to last longer. In football, the ones that people have asked me 2 years later, they're not even going anymore. I mean,
no, that is a problem. They mostly close up. You got to have. You have to do things and make it work. We turn over about one team every 2 years, and you have that built into the system, because no one's going to stay with you that long.
You got to be dedicated. I mean, I got invited to a dynasty league this year, and I immediately turned it down. I joined that auction draft I was talking to you gentlemen about earlier. The first one I joined last year was also you had minor keepers, so we had like a 2-round minor draft. Like after, I'd never really paid too much attention to minors, to be honest with you, in my life until last year. So I did something different last year, and this year I'm not saying it was the right thing to do. I actually got rid of all the minors I had for guys I wanted to keep this year to kind of try to have better players that actually I know are going to play. So you just really have to be invested to do a dynasty league, Doug.
Right now, Jim. So kind of the way my question. Let me reword it, Jim, a little bit, or just get your opinion on this. Do you think? And again, I hate basketball. To me, is just a different entity a little bit. But in football and baseball, if you go into every draft this year, football and baseball, let's say in 2019, you go this year, I'm not drafting one rookie, no prospects. Do you still think your team will be competitive?
100%. I actually in football, I almost never draft rookies.
Me neither. Right.
And I'm not saying that I've missed out. I've missed out on Elliott. I missed out on Barkley. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't play in any keeper leagues.
Yeah, but I have to stop you right there. When people tell me they missed out, but you can't tell me you missed out if you don't tell me who you drafted instead. I didn't draft Barkley this year, and I never would. And I'm not sure I'll draft him next year. But I still got other players that were, good. It's not like I lost 300 points because I didn't draft someone else.
So I played in 2 leagues only in football. I won one, and I made to the semi. So I guess, yes, I was sort of successful. But I also got made fun of because I went down and did a pretty good draft down in New York, and I passed up on Julio Jones and Odell Beckham for Michael Thomas. And people thought I was absolutely crazy. But I was like, no, I kind of like Michael Thomas. And, all year long I got to say, talk back to him, be like, wow, look at me. I'm doing pretty well with Michael Thomas.
Yeah,
Julio Jones had a good year.
Until the playoffs, that was a hell of a pick.
Well,
I know, but that's not your fault. See, I had the same thing. I had the in my main league, live, it's not auction. It's a live real draft. We're there. I had the turn. I was 12-13, and I had Odell Beckham, Thomas, and Keenan Allen. Those were because at that point I decided I'm going wide receiver. And unfortunately, I didn't take Thomas. And Thomas went the very next pick. He went 14, you know. And now, I still got points out of both of the guys I got. That's my point.
Jones was great.
That which is my point. If you didn't get Barkley in, pick 7 or 8, you still got somebody, which is my point. If you missed out on Zeke, yes, the 1 year, it sure would have been nice to have Zeke, but there were other players, I just find rookies, and to me, second-year players worry me really in football just as bad as first-year players. It's like me. Barkley is not probably going to be on most of my teams next year. He'd have to really fall for me because I don't know. I mean, I've seen too many running backs have one good season and then the next year, Gurley, prime example, a great year. The second year he went in the first round, and a lot of picks, and he did terrible. I mean, he didn't do anything his second year because defenses start gearing up a little bit different.
Baseball this year, is there anybody you have to take as a rookie that you just have to take? Anybody would? I mean, Vlad is definitely the one rookie that's definitely everyone's saying, but I'm not taking. Where would Vlad have to go for you, Cha-Cha? Well,
where would in a redraft home league? Where would you draft him?
I probably won't draft until the 6th round.
You won't get him, but I think I agree with you. He'd have to fall to the 6th or 7th for me too.
Well, if he's going to give me, say the best, he's going to give me is 30 home runs and 100 RBIs. Okay, say he gives me that, and he bats 300. Let's say he does that. You don't think I can get somebody in the round that he's going to get drafted with those same stats or better?
Sure, that's my point. That's why I'm not getting him. I agree with you. Doug, what do you think about Vlad? Where do you think he's a value, and then where do you think he would go?
Well, let me just say, I would draft him in one round ahead of him, 5th round in the middle, in somewhere in there. I think he's going to go no later than the end of the 3rd round in most leagues. The one guy that I would say is draft is that I think the guy is just as good, but he's not getting the publicity that Vlad is, and he's right behind him, is Eloy Jimenez.
Yep.
This guy you might be able to draft in the 8th or 9th round.
Yeah,
and at that point, why not take that guy? It's him versus Mark Trumbo or not that great of players.
Right. I think they were talking in the chat room earlier that they all like him. So I agree.
Eloy Jimenez was the big talk last year.
Right.
Yeah. It's the value that you get there.
Right. Jim, what about you? When do you think he'll go, and when would you draft him?
I'm not going to get him. And see what the problem is. I only won 2 leagues last year, and it comes back to what you're saying. The more experts are talking this up every year, it's pushing these guys up. I won Chacha's league, and I won another league, and I got Acuna, but nobody was really talking about him. So I got him in like the 8th or the 9th. It was much, much later.
Wow.
So, I got Acuna fairly late in all my leagues last year, actually. This is the first year I've seen any of these big name guys going in the 3rd, 4th round. Maybe I'd have to look at my information again from last year, but
you're right. There's been a change in the way people look at these things. People get the time, come out of nowhere, have monster years, and that wasn't the way. Like just 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the 2 best prospects in baseball were Yohan Moncada and Lucas Giolito on both sides.
Yeah,
and they didn't turn out, but now it seems like everyone's hitting. I don't know what it is.
I don't. Yeah, that goes back to that previous question. I don't understand it either. About do you think about drafting these guys earlier? Because I never did. I always.
Right, I just don't think about them. I don't know. Cha-Cha, I'm going to kind of. I'm trying to think how to word the question. I mean, when it comes to rookies at all. I mean, do you really think their minor league stats play much? I mean, and that's the other part I get is everyone's, talking about their stats and blah, blah, in the minors. I just don't think it even, I just don't think it comes with them. I don't think it makes it a big difference. Sure. It compares with who they were playing, but doesn't come up. And then the second thing, Cha-Cha, with most of the drafts I'm seeing now are still what I would call expert or industry league drafts. I haven't seen many home leagues. I think he'll go lower in home leagues if they were, at first until obviously all the shows are talking them up. But I mean, I still think right now expert shows are taking him higher so they can say, look, I was on him before you guys were. I still think that's a thing. But Cha-Cha, what about you? Do you think minor league stats play when they come to the bigs?
Well, I don't just think the stats come to play. I think since now it's a lot different than years ago. We only had stats. Now you can go online. I could put his name into the Google thing. I can watch the guy swing constantly. I can watch him do batting practice. I can watch him play a game. And I think I like to watch it. Like I watched Vladimir. I watched Elroy there. And they look like monsters. You know, I mean, again, they're hitting batting practice, whatever, and you've seen them in some minor league games killing the ball. So it kind of helps me to say, hey, you know, not just the experts are saying they're great, or Lenny might have seen them in Arizona, or somebody that says, hey, I've seen them in Arizona and they're killing the ball. So I get to kind of watch a lot more. Again, in baseball, it just doesn't push it up for me, though. I won't draft them that high. I just won't. A pitcher, I think I tend to go with a pitcher more than I'd go with I wouldn't draft a pitcher in a rookie pitcher in the fourth round either at this point.
Right.
The one stat in the minors that generally does translate to the majors is walks.
That's
the batter is good at taking walks. It does that, and on the pitching side, it's walks with strikeouts. You know, Max Scherzer's a great strikeout guy. He was a great strikeout guy down. So there are some stats that are valuable to look at.
So is that based on a strike zone? Is that strike zone knowledge or just patience? Nobody.
Strike zone knowledge.
Yeah, no. If guys are walking in the minor leagues, I agree. I think that definitely comes up with them more quickly in the major leagues.
It shows the patience.
If they don't walk in the minors, they're not going to start walking in the majors.
No.
You know, those are the kind of things.
But I think Jim answered my question. Jim, you think that's more of a patience thing, not just knowing the strike zone?
Oh, 100. To me, it's a patience. Well, it's both. I mean, it's both. You got to know the strike zone. You got to know the patience. But in the major league, it's weird to know the strike zone because we all watch it, right? And there's 3 different million umpires that all have a different, they could have a different strike zone.
Which I like.
Patience is very important, I think. And like you said, that's why I've never been on like a Yohan Moncada. Sorry. He was up here in Boston, and I'll never draft him. The guy just can't hit. Everybody's like, well, he might get it. Yeah, maybe he will. Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know his hard contact hit. I don't know his BABIP, but I saw him, and he's just not a patient individual.
A lot.
Huh?
Well, that's good. That's good.
But patience in Major League Baseball is by far going down, I think. I don't know if we have the stats, but it just seems like, live bats seem to be more the way it is now than it is patience. I mean,
he got the C. See, he got the C, Moncada. If you just look at his stats, even though, you saw, he strikes out a lot, but when you see the guy striking out left and right, with your own 2 eyes, that really looked. It basically, Jim says that's it. He's out of my. I'm not drafting this guy ever.
I know we talked about minor league baseball the other a show or two, but
I don't think it's wrong. That's what I mean. If you see the guy, you can really say this guy. He strikes out, every other at bat. I mean, it's like Stanton with me. Like I was always a Stanton fan when he was with other teams, Miami, and when he came to the Yankees, I got to watch him every day. And I'm going, my God. This guy's so stiff in the batter's box. He strikes out like crazy. When he's hot, he's a monster. But times than not, he looks like a stiff. And I never would.
What you guys said.
I never would say that about Stanton.
But all of you have said in the past, you all have minor league baseball in the area. Is it the Dayton Dragons are on TV every night, even meaning we have so many channels that they now can fill one with a minor league baseball team, a Division A, an A team. So I can watch minor league baseball, on TV now every night. In your guys' area, do you guys have minor league baseball on your cable channels now?
Not up here, but I live in the hillbilly. I live in Maine.
Okay.
I do. So you find it. Yeah.
So you can watch minor league baseball in New York, I'd assume then.
Yep. Yes.
And Doug, you said you had multiple teams all around you, minor league teams. Are you able to watch them on TV?
They have occasional games on TV, not like all the time. Like there'll be like a Saturday afternoon game will be on the Daytona Tortugas or the Kissimmee Fire Frogs.
Right.
And the Fire Frogs are the ones that I have season tickets to, so I go to that game. It's only like a 30-minute drive.
Well, then
the Tortugas are only like a 45-minute drive, so they're not
because
that bad. And
around
the Flying Tigers are an hour.
Right. I mean, right here, I
go. There's more than that.
I try to go to at least one Wright State Raider baseball game every year. You know, I can only say I didn't graduate there, but I did attend a semester of school. So but you know, I go to university.
Wright State. Where was
Wright State University.
Wright State, yes, they were good at basketball college a few years back.
They've had a year or two, and
Wright
actually
State,
now in baseball they're actually pretty good. In baseball, they're in the NCAA. You know, they do fairly well in the tournament every year. They'll go places. UD Flyers.
We got the Brooklyn Cyclones here.
Yeah, I'll go to I'm just saying, I've gotten to where I enjoy college baseball some. So I'll go to a UD Flyers game. Their field's just down the street from where I work. So I'll try to pit a game there or two. I mean, talk about in most cases free or just a few bucks to get in. And, you know, in some cases, there's not even concessions, let alone you can't buy beer. But I enjoy sitting there and watching a college baseball game. And have you guys ever gone to a college baseball game?
No, unfortunately. Yes. Actually, up here we have the Portland Sea Dogs. I bought tickets a couple of years ago, and then I can't remember what happened, but I ended up not being able to go. But I've actually heard nothing but positive reviews of the facilities, the stadium, and everything. Because, of course, living up in Maine, we don't have any pro sports. So the Sea Dogs is about the closest thing we have besides Maine hockey.
Does the state of Maine have any? I guess.
Zero.
No,
that's why they all follow, you know, Boston or New England Boston fans.
Did they used to have a hockey team? Am I thinking wrong? Was there not a major league hockey and NHL team there?
Portland Pirates, I believe, was there. It was I think they still have that. An affiliate of Boston. Well, actually, yes, I believe so. But we have no pro teams. No. They might have had like a semi-pro basketball team a few years ago when they tried to start that stuff.
I don't know. So how many I guess I've never done the math. I'm sure there's a lot of states that don't have any, I guess.
Rhode Island.
New Hampshire, Vermont. Do either of them have a pro team?
No.
Rhode Island. So really New England, the Patriots, that's why, I mean, they actually have like 5 states. Is that they get to cover all 5 states?
I guess so. Well, South Dakota, North Dakota. There's a lot of states that don't have pro teams. Come on. Yeah,
Idaho.
Well, but I guess then that was kind of where I was going a little bit, though. I would think then college sports would take over a little bit. Now, my problem with Maine would be the baseball season's got to be short. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, weather-wise, I mean, you got to have. You know, I know right now UD and Wright State, because I keep up with the news. I mean, they're down in Florida and Georgia playing baseball right now. I mean, the college season's already started. I mean, it's pretty crazy. You know, they're already playing games for college baseball. So. I don't know. I've just gotten to where I enjoy college and the Dragons. I'll do almost all those before I go to like just 1 or 2 Reds games a year. And I used to go to 10, you know, not that that's a lot, but it's an hour and a half away. But, you know, I mean, I don't know. I'm going to
go this year. I hope. I mean, you got Puig. I mean, you should go this year 100%. Couple times. I'd go at least 10 times
this year, right? I'm kind of excited. It'll be fun to go see them. I mean, I'll be excited. Like I said, I'm not saying I'm a fair weather. Obviously, when they're winning, I go to more games, which sounds bad, but you know, just because you get wrapped up in the hype a little bit, and that's been a while. So, Cha-Cha, how many Yankees games do you make a year?
As a funny thing is, I only go to I used to go to probably about 15.
I mean, you can be honest. I mean, if you said none, I would say, okay. I mean,
the only time I go now is honestly when I get free tickets. Right. And I usually only go maybe 2, tops 4 times a year. It's just too much.
Far away though, aren't you, Cha-Cha? I mean, it's no. In fact, you told me you're from what? You're pretty far away. You're not close.
No, it's not that far, Jim. I could jump on. I could probably jump on. Get to the train. It takes me about 15 minutes to drive, and then I take the 4 train. Takes me about 20 minutes to get there. So if I could get where I got to park is not the best place in town. And then, but if I drive and there's a spot there, I could probably just jump on here. I probably, if no traffic, I get there in 20 minutes.
Right, but you even said free tickets can cost you $100, right? By the time you park.
Because for me, basically, I'll go to the game. The tickets are free, but parking, I mean, the cheapest I ever got parking for was, and I probably parked about 7 blocks away and in a shopping area for $20. But then, honestly, where I had to walk through, I would never take any of you guys through that. I just would. And, so it's just too dangerous. It really is. It's in a bad part of town. So it's just not worth it. And, like I said, if you do go in, you got to go with somebody.
Right.
If I have one beer, it's $13.50. Oh. If I don't bring my own sandwiches and stuff, it's going to cost me $25 to $40 just to eat something.
All right. A quick answer then. But what about football? I think you're a Giants fan. Is that correct? Or not yet?
Right? I'm a Raiders fan.
A Raiders. Okay.
I'm guessing 0 games on that one.
All right. That was my next question then. So you're not going to any NFL games either?
I will. I'm looking forward to it because then I get to go to Vegas.
Oh, yes. The Raiders will be in Vegas in about 2 years, I think. Yeah. Doug, you're far away from even pro baseball, right?
I am. I'm 2 hours from the Tampa Bay Stadium.
All right. So do you go to a couple games a year? No games?
Last year, the first year, I didn't go to one at all. I try to make it to one. I have a couple good friends live in Sarasota. We'll go meet for a day, but last year I just didn't care to.
All right.
It didn't happen. So I don't know if I'll go this year.
Jim, what about you? Where I know obviously where you're at in Maine. Obviously, is Boston the closest game for you?
100%, but they just keep winning. Sorry, Cha-Cha. So I don't make it to a lot of games because every year the tickets, like you said, I can't pay the price of what they want. Actually, I went to Florida last year and 2-3 years before that, and as soon as I saw that I was going down towards Tampa Bay, I immediately went to baseball, to get the baseball tickets because I got 3 tickets for probably less than the price of one Red Sox ticket.
How much is a ticket for a Red Sox?
To sit close, unfortunately, I can't sit that far back. I can't see very well. So, you're talking minimum couple $100 if you want a good seat.
Right.
And like you said, Cha-Cha, that's before you park. I have not found it's been $50 minimum to park in anywhere near Boston. So, it's pretty crazy. I haven't been for about 8 years, I don't think, to a Red Sox game.
Huh.
I used to go to Red Sox games. We used to go once a year.
It's a great place.
We had a great time. It was fun. I think we had a better time outside of the game than inside the game because they used to give us the worst seats because we were New Yorkers, and they used to give us the seats in right field where the sun was hitting you right in the eyeballs. So,
that was a strategy, you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. No matter what, they always gave us those crappy seats.
And maybe again, I always assume that it's just my age. I got a pretty big TV. I got HD. I got surround sound. I got other TVs, so I can watch more than one game. It's hard for me to think I'm going to have a better experience. I've been to a lot of ball games. I've now taken my kids. My kids are older, so I'm not going for the kids anymore. I agree. It's a lot of work. I'm not even counting the money. Just the. Especially football. I go to a football game now. Bengals. Last year I went to the Indianapolis Bengals game because it's really just as close for me to go there than it is Cincinnati. So I went to the game there. You know what? I'm such a fantasy guy. Even though I'm at the stadium, my daughter bought me. I went with my daughter. She bought me the tickets for Father's Day, and I'm like, I was on my phone looking at fantasy shit half the time while there's a live game going on. And it's my own team, and it's just a struggle for me sometimes that, especially in football, that experience of being here to watch all the games and my fantasy stats together, that's just too much to give up to go watch a game. And not only that, not just watch a game, you're giving up a day and a few $100. That's hard for me because the experience at home is so great.
I agree. I wouldn't go to a football game if you took me by helicopter.
No, 100%.
Like I said, I'll go to because it's the whole experience of being in Vegas, doing everything else besides going to a Raider game. But here in New York, when you go to Jersey, to the Meadowlands to see the Jets, that's probably the last game I went to see. Was seeing the Jets versus the Cardinals,
right?
Years ago, whatever it was, and it was horrible. We left at halftime.
What about NBA? Any of you go to NBA games?
Can't afford it.
Yeah, those are the most expensive. It's tough.
They're at least.
I haven't been in a long time. I went to an Indianapolis game. That's again the closest team for me.
Too much money, man. I tried. We were going to take my nephew because he loves any basketball game. I think the cheapest ticket we were going to get was $150.
Right. I assume that's the Knicks.
That was the Knicks.
Yeah. I've always heard I still think, even though they lose, isn't that like one of the most expensive tickets in sports is a Knicks ticket?
I think it's like to sit close to the floor. It's like $2,500 or $3,000.
It's got to be, because when I went down there last year for that draft, like the first thing I did, I was only down there a couple nights. So I was like, well, the Knicks were not that good. So I was like, let me look at tickets, and I couldn't afford them. I was just like, well, I'm definitely not going to go see the Knicks. I'm not, because I can't sit far back. I'm sure I could have afforded them if I sat far back, but I wanted to sit somewhat close. And I was like, well, I'm not going to, give that much cash to see the Knicks be that bad. But so I didn't end up doing that.
Right. I mean, right now, don't the Knicks love when other teams come, right? I mean, the draw now is probably partly the Knicks, but the draw is the other teams coming.
Oh, yeah, always the other teams. My nephew goes to all the games to see when the Golden State plays or Boston plays. My nephew loves to watch them. He is not a Knicks fan.
Right.
It's funny. He's 14 now. He likes the players. Like he likes the guy in the Bucks. I can't
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
So he went to see the Bucks game. He's seen the Warriors and he's seen the Celtics. Those are the three teams he likes. The players he likes, put it that way, not the teams.
Doug, I don't think you've ever talked about NBA. Are you an NBA guy at all?
I was a big fan of the Bulls when Michael Jordan played for him. But it kind of went away with that.
I got you.
That was a little while ago.
I always thought the Bulls thing was kind of weird because it was like I grew up in Chicago and I never knew anybody that cared about the Bulls. We had Artis Gilmore and these other guys, and then 1 year Michael Jordan gets there and everyone starts to like them. I swear to God that I went like 1981. I was like 12, 13 years old. I went to a major indoor soccer league game, right? Where they played at Chicago Stadium. And on the back of the ticket, it said, if you want to go to the NBA game tomorrow, buy one, get one free.
Wow.
That's how it was. It's like, okay, I'll go to a game. But
right. People don't realize, right. The Bulls weren't that good. That's the reason they got Michael Jordan. I think they picked fourth that year. I mean,
third.
Was it third?
Then when he's gone, it wasn't the same. And then I live in Orlando and for a while I knew people that were connected, but that I got divorced from them. But now it's like if you go buy a ticket, like they have a public law that says 10% of anything that's built with public funds has to be publicly available. So you can buy a ticket. All season tickets are sold. So once I'm like, who the hell? All right, whatever.
I think we're losing Doug. Doug, fix that sick router.
Damn it, Doug.
Not me.
Are you sure? That was
I have a direct.
I'm gonna start calling Doug with Stromey.
I have a direct line into the router.
You can say that. You can say that. I'm just saying you're the only one breaking up, but that's okay. I'm not going to blame that.
Sticks, Doug. I haven't broke up once.
Yeah, right.
Literally the sticks. I could go outside right now and show you this. It would be nothing but sticks.
Nothing but sticks. All right. Okay. So we have two things to talk about real quick. Not real quick. One, we still got a half hour. We're in good shape. If anybody has to leave, then let me know. But I guess only because Jim was going to be upset if I don't bring up NASCAR.
Let me go get some water.
No, we're not. No, because I'm just curious.
Cha-cha.
No, I'm just curious.
I don't know anything about NASCAR.
And that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's the opinion I want. I mean, because I'm not going to talk about NASCAR. I'm going to talk about rivalries. And I happen to watch and I didn't really think of them. And I grew up with this. I mean, I was a big NASCAR guy when I happened, but the rivalry of Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon. I enjoyed. I don't know if any of you watched the hour-long special or even cared.
I missed it.
But I guess it just made me think of some of the top rivalries of all time. And I know we're just going to say Yankees and whatever, but to me,
I have one.
Well, my first question is, can two NASCAR drivers have a rivalry? Because the point was, at that point, when Dale Earnhardt was at the top of his game, he had 5 or 6 championships when Gordon came. Gordon was half his age. Gordon was L.A., Earnhardt was country, one fish and drank beer. The other one went to Broadway plays. I mean, they literally were opposites at a time when NASCAR, was really at its peak. And quickly Jeff Gordon brought a lot of fans because at that point, Dale Earnhardt was winning a bunch of stuff. But I'm just curious if any of you were NASCAR people at all, if any of you saw the special, and what does it take to be a rivalry? I mean, do you have to both be competitive? Do you both have to win? Do you have to be opposites? And I guess I'm trying to think more players than teams. I know we always talk about Yankees versus, the Red Sox, or we talk, in hockey, the things, but I'm actually, looking at just players, back to Michael Jordan, rivalries for Michael Jordan. I know Jonathan left from Detroit. I mean, I'm trying now, and I had his name. Who's the little guard? I don't even know if they were rivals. Who was the guard for
Isaiah Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, were they even rivals? So I'm just looking for players. And Cha-Cha said he had somebody. Cha-Cha, if just player rivalries, do you have who would you put in there?
Well, if you're talking NASCAR, and I could be wrong, but Mario Andretti and AJ Foyt, weren't they against each other back in the day?
Okay, I'm an IndyCar guy too. In IndyCar, yes, they were IndyCar competitors, and yes, very competitive through the '60s and the '70s. Now AJ Foyt won 4 Indy 500s, and Mario Andretti only won 1. But
that's all.
Yes, Mario Andretti only ever won 1 Indianapolis 500.
Wow.
But he did it early on in his career. He did it like in 67 or 68, I think. And then AJ Foyt, though, won 4. So, but both of those IndyCar drivers are also Daytona 500 champions. Both of those guys did go and win a Daytona race, even though they were IndyCar guys way back in the day. A lot of people, every once in a while you'll see a guy here and there now do it, but those two guys could race anything back in the day. But yes, I would agree. Those two had a rivalry with IndyCar. But
in individual sports, I think of like tennis. Like there was like Nadal and Lendl. You had Connors versus McEnroe years and years ago.
Yeah, I agree.
Individual sports. Does anyone watch golf? Because I don't. I'm sure there's got to be something there.
Bowling.
No, you lost me on the golf too.
Okay.
Weber versus Anthony.
Now, Doug, you said golf, and people won't know this or think it. I guess I'm old enough. I mean, and Cha-Cha, maybe I mean, Arnold Palmer was the man when I was a kid. I mean, a little kid. And then Nicholas came around. That was a rivalry for some time. That was fun. So in golf, those two, I mean, same thing as the Earnhardt Gordon. The age difference made it a rivalry also. So that was a deal, which was kind of where I was going. Didn't get there with Jordan. I was trying to come up with towards the end of Jordan's career. Who were some of the young guys? Because to me, I think he changed the game, and some of the guys came in wanted to be him. Towards the end of Jordan's career, did he have any individual rivalries or guys that, when he played, I think they all played him harder, but I don't even know how to ask the question. Did he have anybody that, you would go, hey, this guy almost took the crown from me while he was still playing?
I don't think there's anything like that. I think that he always played extra well versus the Cavaliers, but I don't really think he hated anybody there.
I always got the feeling he hated everybody. I got the feeling he hated everybody.
Yeah.
But JR or Jim, you're more into basketball. You know what I'm trying to say? I mean, in basketball, I know it's harder because you're a team. But I think some guys in basketball want to beat other guys, regardless what team they're on.
Well, that's the thing today, like Charles Barkley always says. Today, I think it's more of a team rivalry. Oh my gosh. Than a person versus person one. No, I think at the end of Jordan's career, most people respected him, because he came back, twice?
Yeah.
Or at least once, right? So I don't know. I think especially in basketball, it seems like everybody's friends. You got a few fake guys that supposedly don't like each other. But now, like LeBron's on the same team with, I can't remember the gentleman's name, that Stevenson or Lance Stevenson for the Pacers. I don't know. I think it's more team-to-team rivalries than
right. Well, you always hear the Lakers versus the Celtics, but to me, I lived through that rivalry. That was Magic and versus Bird.
Yeah.
Now the teams were competitive, but if those two guys would have been on different if one of them had switched teams, wouldn't that a rivalry probably still would have been there as far as the two of them, right? I mean, was that a 100%. Team rivalry or was that two players that brought their teams with them to the fight?
I think it was a team rivalry personally, but that was a little before my time.
All right. Now, in baseball, is that harder? I mean, that's harder to do, right? That there would be an individual, obviously, I guess when I think rivalry, do you put Sosa and
McGuire?
Yeah, McGuire. Was that a rivalry? Unfortunately, I hated that because they were loving on each other. I don't know. That would have been funner to me if they were truly battling it out. But, there was too much hugging in that rivalry.
No, that was like
in that era. You had Sosa and McGuire. In his biography, that's what the guy said. He's like, I'm better than those guys. That was the rationale. I'm better than those guys. They're only getting this because of the drugs. I'm going to take the drugs and show them. Like they tried to make this rationalization that it was like a circumstantial thing.
That's why he did it a few years later, Doug. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's why he didn't really start taking him until he was later. That doesn't make it right.
No.
You know what I mean? But he was sitting there like he was great before that. Then these guys got all the attention. That's right. So I think that there was some
people always leave Griffey Jr. I mean, talk about luck. Did they? I mean, you know what? He got out right when that happened. You know what I'm saying? I mean, does a player like Griffey Jr., if let's say he starts 10 years later, he'd have been right in his prime when everyone else is doing it. Do you think even someone like him during that, which to me is why they need to be in the Hall of Fame. I even think someone like Jr. would have had trouble going, I just can't compete. You know what I'm saying? Do you think that would have been a thing?
He wasn't that much later, though. Griffey Jr. was what, 3 or 4 years later?
I think he was towards the end of his career, though.
Yeah,
but if he was with the Reds and injured multiple times, I mean, I think in his head he knew he wasn't going to be the best player in baseball if he started taking steroids at that point.
But if he had taken steroids from the middle of his career, he would have never had those injuries.
Maybe
that's the number one thing steroids do is that's you recover from injuries. That's why MMA fighters use them,
right? So is that a good thing that we know Junior didn't take him because when he came to the Reds, he was injured more than he was healthy?
Well, he's better than gosh dang Babe Ruth, right, Doug?
But
just kidding.
I wouldn't say that we know for a fact he didn't do steroids. We just believe that because we don't know anybody.
I agree. Okay. I agree, Doug. He could have taken him. He could have taken him for 4 years because he had that 4 years of like unbelievable numbers. So no, I agree.
But you do what I'm saying. There's 10 years there. If he just started 10 years later, everyone would assume he did it. You know what I'm saying? Right now he gets a pass because he was at the tail end of when that all started.
A lot of people are getting a pass.
Well, I know.
Luis
okay.
Gonzalez? His name? Was that the guy from
he didn't
Arizona?
Get a pass. Arizona, yeah.
Yeah.
I think in terms of
I get in trouble bringing up Cal Ripken Jr. I struggle with what he did without a few B12 shots in air quotes. I'm sorry. I'm just saying, I mean, hey, physical size, that boy changed physical size. His hat size changed from his rookie card to his, later years. I don't know. I'm not, hey, I enjoyed watching him here and there, but he also hit more home runs later in his career than other people. Who?
My real problem is with the lights out 40-year-old pitchers like Roger Clemens and Nolan Ryan. I just can't believe that is physically possible.
So what do we think about Verlander?
Better when you're 38 or 39. Well, he isn't getting better. He had a bit of a jump when he went to the Astros but that's reasonable because of their preparation. He hasn't been that much better than he was at his best.
Didn't he have like his best year last year? Pretty close.
Because I just was bought you. That's why I went down to the basement.
Who's talking to who now?
I said that.
Chacha's talking to somebody in his room.
I might want to mute that.
Yeah, Dan, is that you? We're glad you're here, but I don't know. Somebody's getting. Is there a brawl at your house, Dan?
That ain't Dan's house.
That's Chacha's house.
Yeah.
All right, Cha-Cha. Never mind then. You're old enough to deal with that shit. I was worried about Dan. He's a young guy. Dan, are you done working or got to go to work?
I just got off work.
Just got off work?
Yeah, I'm driving home.
Oh, all right. So, because you're on days right now, right? Because you're pruning the trees, trimming the bush.
I'm on days till about June, man.
Till June?
Yeah, June or July.
Now, what changes in the pot industry? Is it just because of harvesting you have to do in the sun? I don't know. I mean, what changes that you have to work days now?
Because normally when I flower, I run indoor, and I'm running my lights at night to offset heat and power, etc. So normally my lights would come on at 10 p.m. and not go off at 10 a.m. So it would help to do the majority of my work when I'm doing flowering in the evenings. Versus right now, I'm doing just strictly vegetative work, so I can work pretty much 24 hours a day. It doesn't matter when I work.
Oh, all right. Well, we're glad you popped in here. I missed the cup. Basketball was a long night. I had to play a lot. I'm an old man playing with young kids. I came home. I drank 4 beers. I just I fell asleep. I could not keep my eyes open at 11 o'clock. Did you even start on time this week? That's the other issue. I've struggled with you on your time issue. I heard him making fun of you today. Did you start on time last night?
We pretty much started on time. Andrea came on, and we've been having sound issues. And so hopefully we got it worked out. I haven't listened to the podcast. I'm going to do it tonight after the show and make sure it sounds good.
All right.
Everyone said it sounded a lot better in the chat room. So
get your shit. Get yourself a Kindle. Get yourself a Kindle. Cha-Cha sounds like an angel tonight. He's damn good. He sounds so good.
That's the Kindle.
That's the Kindle doing that. All right. So rivals, we kind of, I do think it's hard in regular sports to have a rivalry, when it's a team sport. But I guess back to football, would we have considered, I guess I always got the idea that Manning and Peyton were somewhat rivals. And I think the NFL played that up. Those guys were always primetime games and all that. Would we consider that a rivalry? Was that a rivalry, those two quarterbacks, when they –
Manning and Brady?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that was actually probably one of the last football rivalries, unless we get some sort of Phillip Rivers 1 year rivalry with Mahomes next year.
Well, I don't think 1 year makes a rivalry, though. I think Manning and the GOAT went at it for quite a while. So I think that's what made it such a neat thing. And they had records. At that point, now most people would say Manning probably overall was the better passer, but didn't have as good a team around him, obviously. But but I agree. I think that's two individuals to me that had a rivalry, because it didn't even matter. Peyton even changed teams and the rivalry moved.
That's true.
So, to me, it was a rivalry. Then the next thing is the NBA All-Star Game. Does anyone give a shit?
I hope not. So what was it? Almost 400 points almost scored in that game. I didn't even watch it, but I saw 160 to 140 something at one point.
I don't even watch the skill stuff anymore. Even that doesn't matter to me. I know people say, "Oh, I still love skill." No, even the slam dunk shit doesn't even. I mean, that's 10 foot. Yeah. Well, now if they want to put the basket up to 12 feet and have real dunkers dunk again, where just getting up that high was part of the battle. I mean. Who was it? Spud Webb? I'm sorry. When Spud Webb won it, I was all in. I watched that bastard. I mean, just to see him dunk the ball was fun. It didn't matter if he windmilled or jumped over Shaquille. None of that mattered. He his athleticism was what you were watching. So I don't even get into the skills game anymore. If anything, the only thing I watched was the celebrity / old timers kind of game. I happened to turn that on, and I actually found that a little bit enjoyable because I had a 4-point line. So that's my question. Anybody interested in a 4-point line in the NBA? I guess not.
Sorry, I was waiting for Doug. I'm waiting for Doug.
I mean, obviously, NBA.
I'm not looking for. I think the game has changed radically with the 3-point line. Wouldn't the thing that makes sense to get rid of the 3-point line altogether?
I agree with that, Doug. I actually think the NBA would get better if it went away. Dan, are you an NBA guy at all?
Yeah, somewhat.
What do you think? Are you for or against the 3-point line now?
I'm for it, man. Think about it. And I made this point on our show a couple nights ago. Everyone made a huge stink about 10 years ago about how no one, the lost art of shooting in the NBA was going away. Now all of a sudden, with the analytics and everyone understanding that 3-pointers is more valuable, it's revolutionized the way the game is being played. It's brought back the lost art of the shooting.
Yeah, but the argument against that is the lost art of passing and the assist has kind of gone away a little bit. Now, I do notice some people argue that, but I will sometimes watch 5 passes before the wide open three's there. Meaning, I've seen him I've seen him have almost a 2-foot shot and turn that away for a 3-pointer, which I find kind of interesting. Jim, what do you think? Do you really think that we should just keep it or move it or get away with it?
If anything, I would move it. They're definitely not going to get rid of it because it's all about high scoring, apparently, since we just saw what that All-Star game brought. But I mean, when's the last time we even saw a box out? I mean, it's definitely NBA in just the last 2 years. This is probably my last year I'll play NBA fantasy. I said this last year, but this is definitely probably my last year because you can't even really, there's no skill. If somebody tells me, and Tony Sakata would probably, if he's listening, would be like, oh, there's still a skill, but there really isn't. You're just going to pick up who is hot that week, if he has more games, because there's too much scoring. And I don't know if it's for DraftKings or if it's for FanDuel. I don't know because I don't pay enough attention.
I just think there's more better players. I just think there's so many great NBA players that.
But there's no defense. Nobody boxes out. It's like they shoot a foul shot and half the teams at least by court to court. It's just like, all right, let's just go this way. And then they run down and I don't know. But move it back. But that's about the only thing I could see happening, but I'm not sure that's even going to happen.
Right. Cha-Cha, what about you on basketball? Do you think the 3-point line's helped, hurt, should go away, get farther away?
Listen, I'm Daryl.
I'm Daryl. Are you?
Hi, Daryl.
You're Daryl in the chat room?
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm out of here.
All right. Hey, I love you. Thanks for coming out. I did watch your poopery video or poppery or poopery or whatever. I've seen that advertised. I might have to get some.
See you, Cha-Cha.
Good night, fellas.
See you in the morning. See you in the morning.
See you tomorrow.
So no one really watched the NBA. So are we really down to, is Major League Baseball the only All-Star game worth watching?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, you think? I still get excited I still get excited. There's things I don't like about Major League Baseball's All-Star game compared to. When I grew up in the 70s, you know what? If you were named a starter, there was a good shot you'd play 7 innings. And now, even the starters aren't playing a couple innings anymore. And I don't like that. Now, I do know the next guy coming in has just as much skill, maybe. And I still like that is still a one-on-one thing. It really doesn't matter who's in or the game situation. It's still an all-star pitcher versus an all-star batter, or at least at that point of the season, 2 great players. So am I wrong? You guys are for or against the Major League Baseball's All-Star game?
I like it. It's probably one of the last ones I actually watch. I don't get to watch it frequently, but that's kind of the same thing. I kind of wish did they get rid of home field advantage last year?
Yes, that went away.
They did, right?
Yeah.
I kind of wish they'd bring that back.
I liked it.
Yeah, I did too. But the argument is now is what? It's an exhibition game. That's what everybody says. Can't complain. It's an exhibition game. So, there's really, I guess if that's the argument, you can't argue against it, I guess. It's all about showing skills. And
here's the difference I have about it being it's an exhibition game. But, last year I saw more than one pitch that went over 100 mile an hour. I'm sorry. If I'm in that box and the ball's coming at me 100 mile an hour, exhibition my ass, I have to be prepared. I have to be able to swing. I have to protect myself. And I'm trying to hit a home run. So that to me is the difference. It might not count and it could be an exhibition game, but at the same time, at least it's an all-star game where 2 professionals are doing something at a very high level. And to me, that goes away in a lot of the other all-star games. No? Go ahead, Doug.
I was just thinking, I went to the Pro Bowl this year for about 10 minutes and I left because I wanted to say I went to a Pro Bowl, right? Because who can do that? But I was thinking, what I really enjoyed? It was about 12 years ago. I went to the NHL All-Star Weekend, and their skills competition.
Damn it, Doug.
Right, but he's going to blame us.
So much to say.
Yes, he's got it. Did we actually lose him?
I think I know where he's going, though.
I think he froze up. Go ahead, Jim.
I kind of think I know where Doug is going because, well, first of all, I played a lot of sports and I tried to play ice hockey once. And I'll tell you what, that's probably one of the hardest skilled. I mean, that's some skill. Skating, stopping, hitting that little puck to one certain area is probably the hardest thing I've ever even tried to do compared to basketball or football. I don't know if anybody agrees with me, but I think that's what he was trying to say. He probably went to that all-star skills competition and it was amazing because if you could see those guys hitting the puck and hitting that one little, 12 by 12, Doug, thing.
Skating the line, hitting they're like the 5 little discs they have to hit.
Yes.
It was better than the game, but football can't pull it off. Basketball can't pull it off.
I agree. Hockey. I don't watch the hockey one, but I probably should. Maybe that is the one.
They do something weird. Like, don't they play it by countries or something?
Well, they do now. It's USA or North America versus the world. I forget. I don't know. I think it's similar to that. Dan, what about you? What's your opinion on All-Star games at this point? Dan,
I'm always a fan of the MLB All-Star game. I do like the idea of having. I don't necessarily want to have it count for home field advantage, but it needs to count for something somehow. I don't have the answer off the top of my head. But definitely my favorite skills competition is still the home run derby. And those of you that haven't gone to an All-Star game, make it a point to go there.
Yeah,
go to the home run derby, and the actual batting practice leading up to the home run derby is basically like another home run derby that every single person in the All-Star game participates in. Like literally, everyone goes up there and just tries to park balls. It's a pretty cool show. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to check it out. So.
All right. I don't know. Does anyone still see me? My machine's going goofy again.
I see you.
All right, you guys see me? I just don't see me. But
yeah,
I agree. I forgot about the home run derby.
I better than the hockey one, but the home run derby is the thing.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, I like the home run derby still, 100%. Actually, I forgot about that too. I guess we're on a baseball network here, and we forgot about the home run derby.
Okay, I'm back. I think Jim was going there too. I kind of agree with Jim that I liked that something was on the line for the All-Star game. And to me, home field advantage was because I'm not a believer that the best team with the record for American League or National League should get the home field advantage because they didn't play even the same teams. So for the Yankees to get home field advantage because they had more wins than the Dodgers, who, they played in, yes, there's some cross, but mainly they played in two different leagues. So to me, that wasn't fair either. So at least the All-Star game made the last couple of innings important, if anything. So it made the coaches at least keep a couple players back for that. So it made you, want to keep watching the game the whole time. So I didn't have a problem with it. I know a lot of people laughed at it that it was stupid, but I don't think, I think it's stupider that we say the team with the best record when they don't even play in the same leagues gets that benefit. Am I wrong there?
Well, I guess I'm going to have to flip this question because let's say they get rid of the DH. So if you get rid of the DH and that passes, then home field advantage kind of really won't matter, in my opinion, unless you're like a Red Sox or a Yankee, because a lot of these Kansas City or even LA last year, I mean, it was mostly Boston fans. I hate to say it, but it was. So, I mean, then what would be at stake then, I guess is my question. Because if the DH becomes obsolete, why do you even play an All-Star game? Or even the records really won't matter. Home field advantage, to me.
So how else do you do home field advantage for Major League Baseball then?
That's my question.
Now I still think there's an advantage. Some people I think would still say, yes, there's no advantage anymore in strategy, but there's an advantage of playing game 7 in your home, field, I would think.
Maybe games 7, but I mean, like the Sox had no problem going into the dot, and I'm not trying to. I don't know. I mean,
just remember the Giants won all three World Series without having a home field advantage.
Yeah, that's true.
And the Red Sox 2 World Series were swept too. They swept St. Louis and Colorado back in 2004 and 2013.
I think the Cardinals and St. Louis games. They're all 3 games in St. Louis.
Damn it!
We lose Doug again?
I think that's Dan.
No,
now that's Dan. I have no video now. I can't see. Oh wait, now my video just popped back up.
I think that was Dan.
I was going to say that. I think the Cubs only won in 2016 because they didn't have home field advantage. there was such a shot in the arm getting Kyle Schwarber to play DH for 4 games.
Then let me ask it this way.
They wouldn't have had.
Okay, but stop. Because I've heard more than one athlete, which to me is important here. I think fans and sports casters and all that want to sell this home field thing. Most athletes will tell you, yeah, I want to play in front of my fans, but it doesn't matter. In any sport, most of the athletes will say, I don't care. Give me a game 7 anywhere. I'm going to play my ass off and try to win.
I think that you are. That's what they're all going to say. But have you ever done like traveling sales or something? It's just harder when you're not in your own house. There's just things that are difficult about it.
That makes sense.
Like your toothpaste isn't where it's supposed to be, and it's not your bed, and it's not your pillow. I'm not saying that. I mean, this is at the very top level, and they're going to give everything they got, but there is a little bit of an advantage to sleeping in your own bed.
I know Jim for sure wasn't here. Dan maybe, because Dan came on early. See, I'm back, and we talked about it because I think now it won't happen. I would like Major League Baseball to go like college and Little League World Series, where this is Major League Baseball stadium, and this is where the 7 games are going to be. We don't care who's going to be in it. Wow. You put it in a dome or a stadium in the middle of the country, and then because to me now both teams got to come out and play technically 7 games under the same situation.
They're saying like football, basically. Like, we're going to play in Cincinnati.
Like pretty much every championship is played. I mean, I think we talked about that. What do you mean it's not true?
Basketball plays home games. Baseball plays home
basketball and baseball. Football is a neutral. College baseball is neutral. College basketball, college football, soccer. Almost all of them do not play their final championship game on their home court. I mean, it's basketball and baseball is the only 2 I can think of. Hockey, I guess. But my point would be, how would that hurt the game?
It would hurt the fan bases of the home teams. I would hate that.
See, I argue against that, Dan. I argue against that.
It's never going to happen.
Huh?
The money. The owners are never going to like you just said the 3 major ones. You said NHL. Well, not sorry. 2
okay.
3.
How is money in? Here's your argument. The only money that would the money changes. I'll give you that. But the money doesn't go away. The money would be divided more, because my argument would be if in the middle of the country, if it's an open thing, you're still going to have Yankees, Red Sox, Kansas City, a Cincinnati Red. I mean, everyone would have an opportunity to get there versus just the Yankee fans or just the, unfortunately, even football now, nobody who's a fan of a team's getting a damn ticket. It's all corporations and Pepsi boxes and all that. My point is, baseball could probably sell more tickets at a higher price. I mean, obviously, there's sellouts regardless. So that's my point. The game would be sold out regardless. The TV money would be just, the same, if not more. The issue would be you'd have no weather problems. You could have it in the games could be played in an environment where weather's not an issue. Fans can come and go. And especially if you did it even in the Midwest, and even during you could set it up to where they're playing over the weekend. So it'd be the games would be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then the next week, a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so that fans could have a weekend off and go to 2 or 3 games. And then another group of fans go the next weekend. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think, yes, would the Yankees vote for it? No, because what they're gaining is revenue and ticket sales, but Major League Baseball still gets the TV money and some of that when it's the big games. The Yankees don't get TV money for that; they get a percentage of playoff money. But
so Dan was probably right. We should let Dan finish because he was probably right with the fans. I know you kind of cut him off, and then I kind of cut you off.
Okay, go ahead.
It's probably the right answer, right, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely, man. There's no way you can't do it. You can't. If someone who's been to many World Series with a home team, you can't. I'm sure you went to some. You live in the Boston area, right? But yeah, you can't do that to the fan base, man. Yeah, I wouldn't root hard if I was living in Oklahoma for a random team to come through.
But it wouldn't be Oklahoma people be there, Dan. It wouldn't be Oklahoma people be there. There'd be random people. But at the same time, if I'm not a season ticket holder, it's going to be harder for me to even get a ticket to see the Reds here because of all the Cincinnati people buying tickets. But if the game was in Oklahoma or Minnesota or Kansas City, at least then everybody has an opportunity to get there. I'm still going to watch it on TV. That discussion became a thing. to be honest, I'm still going to watch it at home on my big screen TV, drink my own damn beer. So
it's really hard to think about it like this. Most of the World Series tickets there are sold, bought, are in the secondary market because most of them go to season ticket holders and they do lotteries for the remaining tickets, etc. So when you're competing and people within your own market, it's already hard enough. Imagine trying to compete with fans from all 50 markets, all 50 states. It just makes the tickets would skyrocket, and it would be that much harder.
But I guess then to me, you're now arguing against yourself. You're saying the home fan. My point is you're allowing all Major League Baseball fans to participate now.
Major League Baseball can participate. Get on a plane and go to that city.
Yeah, and no offense, but usually it's the home. Like, for example, just last year, like the Dodgers Sox game, the Dodgers don't have true fans. I mean, I hate to say it, but it was mostly Red Sox fans in the stadium. So, I mean, you're not. Huh?
Right. The Dodgers. I don't think the Dodgers sold out one game last year in the playoffs.
But that's what I'm saying. Really? So I'm saying you're taking it from a fan like me. Let's say for me, for example, easy. I want to go see the Sox play. I'm not going to go travel to LA. It'll cost me a buttload of money,
right?
Plus the ticket, right? So let's say even put it in Montana. Like you're taking it from a fan. Just because the Dodgers don't have fans or San Diego Padres don't have fans, other people have fans, so they want those home games because maybe that's that one game I'm going to go to. Like we just talked earlier about, do you go to the, and I was like, well, it's too expensive. But maybe all of a sudden, okay, we got a playoff game. I'm going to drop $1,000, just for example, to see that game. You can't put it in Minnesota. Then it's going to be $1,000. Going to go to like $1,500.
Well, first of all, the odds are it's only 3 games. We're only talking 3 games, period, anyway. So the odds of a random Boston fan getting to see what?
How did the Boston guys get there? I was just looking it up. It's like almost every year the Dodgers have the record for attendance. They averaged 47,000 people last year, which was a good solid 12,000 per game more than Boston. How does
it's not necessarily the Boston fan, Doug? It's the fair weather fans that are over there on the West Coast. Is basically what I'm saying. Or not fair weather. I don't mean to say that.
There's a lot of really good baseball fans out here. You'd be surprised.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I didn't mean to say that.
Dodgers had one of the. I'm not a Dodgers fan, but I always thought they had one of the strongest fan bases out of anybody.
Did you watch the game?
42,000 capacity. I mean, the Dodgers are drawing, almost 5,000 more fans a game on average. That stadium's huge if you've never been there. It's really hard to fill.
Right, it's big. But my other argument, though, is I guess you guys are saying – my point is it allows – what I want to say, if – let's say it's in Kansas City. I might go – to a Boston LA World Series game if it was in Kansas City. I'm never going to drive to Boston. I'm never going to go to LA. But if someone said, hey, I got tickets to the World Series game Saturday, it's in Kansas City, at their new dome or the Major League Baseball's new facility there, I'd go, sure, I'll go. I mean, I'm a baseball guy. I think a World Series atmosphere, even if my team's not playing, would be enjoyable. And right now, most fans don't have that option because, one, if you're not a Boston fan or an LA fan, you're not getting a ticket anyway, and you're probably not traveling. Where at least if the game's – I guess what I'm saying is I don't think it takes away as much. It might move who gets to see it, but I don't think there's any money loss. And I just like the idea personally. When it comes to baseball, my whole argument is I don't like that we play all these games and then 2 games in 30-degree weather is deciding who's the best team. I struggle with the weather issue personally, where if it's in the Midwest somewhere where they're playing in a dome, where I know the World Series is going to be, decided, at 70 degrees, like the game's designed to be played. I'm sorry. I've been a kid. Yeah. And I was a kid when there was nothing else to do. 30 degrees, I'm not swinging a damn bat out in the field. My fucking fingers have stung for 3 days before doing that shit. So why should we have World Series is decided in 30-degree weather? I think it's ridiculous.
Now, that argument I actually like. That one I actually like because that makes a little more sense to me. I don't know if there is an enclosed place that could have played in Massachusetts, but to counteract it, let's say you're a Minnesota fan, and let's say you win this year in the AL, and you're a St. Louis fan, and you win in the NL. What if the World Series is held in Seattle? None of those fans are going to be like, "What? We're not going to Seattle."
I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can do like the Super Bowl, where it's just playing random places, and yes, a team might go. I think like college baseball, it's in the middle of our country. Yeah. That would be my argument. You have to build a stadium somewhere where you say this is where Major League Baseball is going to play the World Series. We're going to have concerts, we're going to do all kinds of shit. But for this 10 days, there's going to be the World Series is going to be held here in this dome, in this stadium. And I'm sorry, I know Major League Baseball. Not only will they do that, 2 months before they're going to start selling tickets from all over the place for that place, meaning they're going to sell the same seat to about 18 different people from 18 different cities, hoping their team makes it. And then somebody's going to get refunds at the end when their teams don't go. But I just don't think it's as far-fetched as, some people think, because it works for other sports. And the only reason we do it in hockey, baseball, and basketball is because, one, they've never tried it any other way. And I'm sorry, even in the NBA, I know there's not a weather issue or all that. And unfortunately, it's not one game. I think it's easier to have the, NCAA championship, in one spot, but it sells out every year. It's a big event. People watch.
You got me thinking. Go ahead, Doug.
I'm just a weather person, and I don't think baseball's not going to give up 10 games. I just don't think they're going to do it. They did away with double. They've done everything. I don't to keep. I grew up when there was double headers. They even did away with that.
Problem. That's actually the main problem.
I'm just thinking about
the double header thing. I think is the main problem. I've talked to a lot of people that are a little bit older than me, and I mean, like you said, it's the money is taken over, and they should do more double headers. Like especially,
I agree.
Now they're starting on what 3-4 days earlier. Used to start on Sunday, now they're starting on Thursdays. They're doing a great job at scheduling. I don't know if you guys look at like what teams are playing what this year coming up. I do because it's just something I do. But getting rid of the double header thing is 100%. Back in the day, just double headers left and right. They just don't do it anymore.
Do you remember?
That would solve a lot of problems.
Remember, like you would get the little schedule, and you would see like there's like 2 double headers. Like, oh, wow, the Reds are playing the Cubs on June 3rd. You'd circle that date, and like everyone would go there. And then I think like nowadays they're saying the games are too long, and like we would just gladly spend 7.5 hours at that stadium.
Right?
Who cares? 4 hours. It's like, I think they're just missing something.
But baseball and the concessions people don't want to give that up, But my point is, you can't have it both. If you're going to keep all those games, and I know I said it in the chat room again the other day or one morning this week too, is we have all these West Coast, Southern, and teams with domes. But then again, we'll have Miami come up and play Boston in April. I think that's stupid, and I know people say, well, because they don't all want to give up their games. Nobody wants to play this time of year at home. They want their home games during the, summer when kids are out of school and blah, blah. But back to its weather. Why are we playing games in April where the weather's got control? And again, I'll watch it and I'll go, this game snowed out and it's Arizona versus Chicago in Chicago. I'm like,
what are you gonna do? You're gonna wait for Chicago to play 2 weeks on the road.
But if you're gonna start this early, the first 2 weeks, schedule West Coast, Southern, and Dome games.
Well, that's like I said, have you guys seen the schedule? The schedule is actually, I've been checking it frequently. In this year, it's actually better than even last year. But when you get teams like Minnesota getting rid of the dome, that doesn't make any sense. Like a lot of these places that are right, they don't have a dome anymore. Correct? I don't want to sound like an idiot. So I think they got rid of the dome a few years ago. They're open, right?
Yeah,
Minnesota.
Open.
Yeah. So I mean, that didn't help. But this year's schedule is really good. It really, really is. But once again, you got too many teams. How you can only do as good as as well as you can do.
Well, I guess I'd have to do the math. I'd have to look at not just the schedule. I'd have to look at teams. What teams are on the East Coast?
The Sox, I believe, start on the West Coast.
Okay. Unfortunately, the Reds are pussies. The Reds won't give up. The Reds want to be one of the opening teams, which we used to be the first game every year. They gave that up a while back when ESPN paid Major League Baseball more money so that they could have a Sunday night game. So the Reds, so that used to be, if you paid attention, that used to be an American League game on Sunday nights to open the season, because the Reds got to then be the National League opener on Monday, and then now that's gone away. But the Reds always open up at home. And even that, I'm as a Reds fan, I'm gonna go, I don't care. We have shitty weather on opening day the last 2 years. It's been rainy and snowy on opening day. You know what? Let's open date a week and a half later, but let's go play at Miami. Let's go play Arizona. Let's go play in LA. Let's go do something and then come back and play when the weather's nicer. That's all. I don't know. I mean, I know it. And Jim, to me, even that decision is money. Again, these teams don't want to give up. The Reds will have more people on opening day than the next 2 weeks combined, meaning we sell out opening day and then there's 100%. Nobody there for the next 2 or 3 weeks because of shitty weather and everything. It's bad. So my point is, for that one game, again, they see dollar signs. That one game's so important, they're not willing to give it up. There's still going to be an opener. It just shouldn't necessarily be April or March 30th. Let the Reds open up the middle of April.
Now you got me thinking, because that division. So maybe there should be some division reconstruction, because you got the Reds, St. Louis.
Yeah, we're all Midwest, and there's not a dome. Right, there's no dome either.
St. Louis gets cold. So either somebody has to get some domes, or maybe a different.
But I think last year we opened up with Pittsburgh. If I'm not mistaken, I have to look back.
Though in April or March is going to be.
Yeah, but that's my point. Why is Cincinnati and Pittsburgh playing in the first week of April?
That's insane. There's only so many West Coast teams. I mean, it's hard. It's hard. It's really hard. I've sat down and looked at it.
We don't have time now. I now want to go. I want to see a schedule. You keep saying that, but I got a feeling if we count domes, Southern, Western, and dome teams. Is it really? You think it's that unequal? Do you think there's so many more teams in the Northeast, in the Midwest compared to, California alone has what? California, have 4 teams? 3 teams? San Diego, San Francisco, LA. You got 5 teams just in California.
Yeah, Oakland. But I think we play Oakland. I think we play either Oakland or Seattle.
Right? I mean, you have Texas, you have Houston, you have Miami, and then obviously you have some dome teams that are, again, you're right. A lot of teams have given up their dome. I don't even know now.
That doesn't make any sense.
Atlanta is a dome team, but they're also, to me, Southern. Is there anybody? You're right. I forgot Minnesota gave up their dome a few years ago. So
gave up their dome.
Is there any Northern domes?
Toronto. But the problem is, I think the Yankees might play for. I'm trying to look it up.
Detroit is an open stadium. I know. Chicago's are both open,
and that's also Kansas City.
St. Louis is open. Convertible? Who
is Seattle convertible? Seattle.
But Seattle.
But see, I would consider Seattle West Coast. Meaning, Seattle to me is a weather rain issue, but not cold weather.
Toronto has a dome.
Toronto's a dome. That's the only one in Tampa Bay. But if I remember correctly, it's weird. I think the Yankees are either playing Tampa or Toronto. I looked at this and I keep trying to look it up, but I can't.
But they're at home.
Who?
New York. Are they opening up in Florida?
I think they play one of those away teams. I wish I had. I'm sorry. I wish I had. I didn't know this.
Hey, if I'd have known it was going to be a topic tonight, I'd look it up. It's just one of those things off the top of my head because someone brought it. I think someone brought it up in the chat room today, or Lenny brought it up. I forget. And then I typed something in like, "Why do we play again?" Because last year I even thought it. I remember specifically last year, the first week of baseball, when we had all these weather issues. I'm like, no shit, because we got 2 Eastern teams playing each other, or we have a Miami team coming up and playing, Boston. I'm like, that's just stupid. The odds are it's going to be cold and snowy or rainy in April in Boston, and it's less likely to be in Miami. But,
But they're also scheduling a lot of the Sox have they're trying to schedule day offs early too. The Sox
I have noticed that they put more breaks.
A day off and then a day and then a day off because in case so they can flip flop it.
Right. That's fine. But again, I think what started this is that we now have World Series games that are now getting close to playing in November.
No, I agree. That's crazy.
And it's crazy, unfortunately. Luckily, and I'll say luckily, this year it ended up being Boston versus LA. So at least 3 of the games you knew were going to be played in warm weather. There's always that chance that just for certain people's thing, it could be Boston versus the New York Mets, and unfortunately at that point, weather doesn't change. You're not even far enough. Meaning if it's rainy and shitty on one city, it's rainy and shitty the other one. So, if they're rained out here, it's not like, you go, shit, 2 days from now, it's going to be raining, it's not going to change it. I just don't like that. And which is back to my argument. You build a nice dome stadium somewhere that you can do a lot of different events, including the World Series, and they'll sell tickets. Yes, Dan's argument of the fan, and I get it. Dan would say he's a big San Diego guy, or San Francisco, right? I'm trying to think. He's a San Francisco Giant fan. So yes, if they get in it, he wants to be able to go to their game. My argument would be, okay, some things you just can't go to. He can still go or have to travel maybe, but my argument might be it might be easier to get that ticket than a ticket sometimes in your own stadium or in your own city. That's what I'm saying. Cincinnati's going to sell out to Cincinnati people if they're in the World Series next year. Not that they won't sell out if it's in Kansas City or Minnesota, but me as a random fan has a better shot at getting a ticket. That's all.
If like in the Super Bowl, because they know ahead of time where it's going to be, don't they sell out like a year in advance?
Sure.
At least with the World Series, you don't know who's going to be there, and there's that mad rush, and you might get something.
Right. I agree. And I don't think there's a problem with selling tickets a year in advance to people who go, I just want to go to the World Series every year. I would go watch a Boston LA World Series game and say, hey, I went to the World Series. I would never do it in either one of those cities, but if it was somewhere neutral,
come on, you would go to LA if you. If you could go to LA, you'd go to LA.
No, I'm not saying I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't schedule to be there. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't go for the game. Meaning if something happened and I happened to be out there, or something like that, or I just had money where I could always go to a World Series game. But my point would be like Super Bowl. It's almost I've always heard it's one of the most impossible tickets to get unless you win it or know somebody or you have thousands of dollars.
$1,500 this year could have got you a ticket.
Could have, but
I checked the day before
but that ticket was from an individual. You can't buy a ticket from somebody. You have to buy it, someone resell it. I don't think. Where do you go buy a World Series or a Super Bowl ticket?
But almost all sites are through third parties or second parties now. It's like buying a hotel. I mean, unless you're super smart, most of these people just go on to Javago, whatever those.
Right.
I mean, it's mostly.
I know what you're right.
The biggest mistake
and SeatBub and ticket this and ticket that, but I don't know. I just don't think it's as far-fetched as every time when I bring it up, real baseball people just think it's asinine. To me, asinine is playing in 30-degree weather for 2 games to figure out who's going to be the world champion of a game that's supposed to be played in the summer. That's my argument, period, to be real honest.
And I, that part I do agree with. I'm not saying we wouldn't have beat the Dodgers because we still would have because they stink. But I agree with that. That's kind of crazy. I think the doubleheaders just need to be pushed back. But I don't know if it's emptying and putting new people in, and that's just like too much of a headache for stadiums. Because that's what you have to do realistically. You still sell 2 tickets, right? It's not like the same people get. Back in the day, you might have bought a ticket.
No, in the old days, when my dad took me to Crosley Field, the price, the reason we would go to doubleheaders is we got to see 2 games for the same price.
But that's what I'm saying. The problem is like right now I could look and buy a ticket, and right now I could buy a ticket.
Right.
So I don't know if you can't do that anymore. So what I'm saying is you don't know if it's a doubleheader until 3 days before it or 2 days or whatever.
Nowadays.
You know what I mean?
Now,
so you have to empty a stadium and then put people back in.
Right.
In the box.
So you're talking doubleheaders where they're rain out type.
That's what we're talking about, correct? Weather.
Well,
and stuff like that.
No, I think they need to bring back real doubleheaders, meaning, two Sundays a month. The Reds should be playing a doubleheader somewhere to just put some breaks in there and to get the season shorter. And
if you had 5 or 6 doubleheaders, you could start April 3rd instead of March 28th. Get a little bit later into the season and a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I misunderstood. Sorry. I don't know though, guys. I love this start in March. That's the problem. I would rather at the end.
I love it from a fan standpoint, but I'm a Cub fan. Like last year, they missed like 6 or 7 games in the first 3 weeks just because of weather.
Yeah, they did.
And that got the Cubs off to a terrible start.
Yeah, it was part of the reason why they were kind of the doldrums. So they were playing 3 games a week, and then because of all the missed games at the very end, like when they went to when they had played the last game, the day off, because they were filling in things like fly to Washington for one game, then fly back.
Yeah, I remember that
because they had to make up those things. I'm
now,
not saying that.
Jim, is that real? That's a 16-ounce Natty Light you're pounding there?
25, actually.
A 25-ouncer? That's the big gulp.
But it's only 4 point something. So, and I was smart tonight, guys. I wasn't messing around. Last night I shouldn't have been on, and I'm not gonna lie.
What show did you do last night?
Excuse me?
Whose show did you do last night? Or are you talking last week?
Last week, sorry.
No, you should have been on. That show was the best we've ever had.
Yeah, no, we actually went out to dinner today and brought the kid to what, Doug?
I thought that show was like, we didn't talk about sports a lot. We talked about other things, which was weird.
Well, we talked about the industry, and I don't want to get going about the industry because, like I said, I've been around this, and I'm sure I've been in this. I may look young, like I said, but I've been doing this as long, if not almost as long as Cha knows. All these guys know. I love these guys. I've been following these guys and freaking out all these guys by Twitter for years. In the industry, that's why we do fantasy sports, right? It's the love of the game, and to see it go downhill it's sad. It's sad. It's kind of like my second family. I mean, I spent a lot of money the last 2 years to go down there and see these people and meet them. I met Lenny, I met Andy. So it was last week was kind of weird. I drank too much, and Andy kind of clapping back at me, and I'm not saying anything. I have no problem. Like, I was not trying to get on her team, and I was trying to. I mean, it was my feelings got hurt, and I got a little sensitive. But we all do this. We're all right.
We're all grown-ups. That's why I'm saying I liked it. I think if anything, the honesty came out, because my argument is I'll be the first to tell anybody, because this is me. I've told this to a million people. Don't ask me a question that you want an honest answer to. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to ask me to critique your team, you better have on your big boy pants, because I have no problem saying you drafted stupid, in my opinion, because that's what you're asking me, right? So, and unfortunately, me and Lenny I typed Lenny today. Me and Lenny disagree on a lot. And I don't think that's a bad thing. We also agree on a lot. Jim, you've done this. You just said you've done a long time. It's easy to disagree. But my argument is, when I hear someone like Lenny say, that a industry, and I agree with you, kind of, this industry word drives me crazy, because if anything, I am proof that this industry doesn't mean anything. I have a microphone. That doesn't make me part of the industry, but I'm doing a show or two now. But my point is, when Lenny says that if someone doesn't draft someone they've talked up, that makes them not a respectable person. And I disagree totally. If that person isn't a value, I don't care how much you've talked them up, you don't take them there. Yeah. End of story. Where Lenny's the other way around. He's like, no, the value should always be there if you've talked him up that much. So I think experts have a tendency, because I do think more of them believe Lenny's way than mine, which is, no, I've talked him up, I better take him here, because I'm not going to get him next round when I really want him. But that would be my point. You're not doing me any favors by drafting someone round early, and I'm trying to learn from you.
Doug.
I couldn't get my head around, like, if you talk somebody up, that's the thing that's the only thing industry leagues are good for, in my mind, is that they sort of set the opinion as to what ADP is. If you're talking somebody up and then they actually move up in ADP, then all of a sudden, just like you said, they may not have the value they once had, and you don't draft them. There are guys. I mean, I'm in the middle of an auction draft right now. I'm going, I can't spend $9 on Cole Calhoun, but that's all that's left. You know what I mean? I like him.
$1 there. Is Steve Pierce there? Because I would take those two.
For Steve Pierce, Moreland I would, but he's actually owned. Pierce doesn't really have a path to playing time. It's like
no. Well, anyways, we can go argue this about, because I have a philosophy this year about my first baseman, and I don't know if it's going to work, but it's going to. Anyways, to answer your question, Easy. I actually am more on Lenny's side, maybe not 100%, and I'm definitely not trying to kiss anybody's butt, but I think sometimes these guys talk up these players to kind of push you towards drafting them maybe more, and that they go the opposite way. I kind of believe in Lenny's, and even what Andrea did. Like I said, not necessarily those people she took, but you got to get the players you like. Like last year, I was on Clevenger. Yeah. I took him early, and everybody, like I said, same thing with the Thomas thing. I took Michael Thomas. And that was with that draft was in New York. It was with half experts. I did not win the league. I lost in the semifinals. But it's baseball's harder than football because stats are just so close. That third round guy that's hitting you 27 and 90 RBIs, you can't get a 6th round, 7th round hitter that's going to do that.
Right. But my argument though is, and see, Lenny, we've had this argument. Lenny doesn't think value is important. He thinks getting the player you need is more important. But I kind of debate that too, meaning, okay, I need home runs, but the guy that's going to give me the home runs right now, I should be able to get the next round. So I'm going to gamble and take a better pick here and hope he comes back. If he doesn't, then it doesn't make me bad. It means the gamble didn't pay off. Not, which is my point. Just because I really like a guy that I think I can get in the 4th round doesn't mean I'm going to take him in the 2nd because I don't think I might not get, you know what I'm saying? I mean, to me, there is still some value a little bit versus just, hey, I've had this argument with other people, so I'm not the only one. I do, but I said that earlier on. I don't get fixed on players. I don't get fixed on strategies. I'm a value guy, and when it comes down to wherever I'm picking, if I go, this or versus that, yes, at if it's if the coin flip is who I like better, I take the guy I like better. Other than that, I try to go, all right, I really don't know. Because I'm one of those, if I don't need a first baseman, but I'm getting a first baseman in the 8th round that should have been picked in the 6th, I'm taking him. Just because, if I think if I think he was out there and it was somewhat of a steal, I'm going to take him, even if I didn't need him. I know people don't like that, but that's the way I do it.
Telling you he should be picked in the 6th. Like the whole value thing. I'm kind of with Lenny. Like the whole value thing. Like for example, Eugenio Suarez, or I can't say his name correctly, so I couldn't even if it was tomorrow. But I've been taking him forever. Now he's finally pushed up so high. Like he was a guy. He was like Mike Moustakas is a guy I'm going to be on this year. I mean, it's just all these people want to take all these people so early, and then their stats are not that far away. That's just my opinion. I just don't know who is in charge of this value. Well,
I agree. I'm not an AD. I mean, I do understand ADP. And here's where I come at this, and me and Chris argue sometimes. As a fantasy person who plays in more home leagues, you know what? I am drafting with people that live by ADP because they're coming with their ADP printouts, they're coming with their computers or their app on their phone, and they haven't studied like I am. So the only thing they can go by is ADP. So that's why I agree. I'm not picking by ADP, but I know 6 out of the 12 people I'm playing with are definitely doing it. So I have to go, okay, I know those 6 are doing ADP, so I know this guy's probably going to fall to me later. I'm going to wait. To me, that's where I think. If I'm in a league where everyone's picking off ADP, that's different. If I'm with a draft, no one's picking ADP, then now I'm in trouble. I have to do, go a different route also. But because I'm not a believer. I mean, I agree with other people. Is it Chris List? What's the guy's name on Sirius that does football a lot? He does a little bit of everything. He is anti ADP. His opinion, it's just a made up ass number, and I agree to that to a point. It's just it's what got set and. The fish follow to a point or but
most people aren't confident in themselves enough to say, I want this guy at this level because of the numbers he's going to give you. And so when I'm at a draft, I'm not only predicting what players I think are going to be good, but I'm also trying to predict what players other people are going to take. And I'd rather them take guys I don't want and do it. And so it's I don't understand why you would, as much as you might love somebody this year, I think the world of Josh Donaldson. I think there's a real chance that he leads the National League in home runs this year, and he's a top 10 player. But why would I do that if I can draft him in the 6th round and get other players too? This way, I have instead of having Josh Donaldson, who I love, I have 2 first-round players. If I'm right?
If you're right, but what I'm saying is ADP usually is followed going from last year, finally playing with these experts. First 3-4 rounds, pretty much the same. My Q started getting crushed 6, 7, and 8 because we all pretty much are doing. We know the same players,
right? The middle guy.
Like I said last week, I don't know hard bit, Andrea, or whatever hard hit rate. I don't know that stuff. I don't really care about that stuff. Do I win all the time? No, and nobody does. So I mean, 6th, 7th, 8th round, all my guys are going because we all are going to know. If you play fantasy baseball, you're going to know pretty much everybody's team almost to a T. I would think if you're playing like first baseman, second, you're going to know the starting lineup, right? I mean, at least I do. I do. I mean, I'm going to be.
You're talking other baseball teams. You're not talking other fantasy owners teams. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Right, but
like you're gonna know.
No, I'm talking about. But what I'm saying, when you go in prepared, you're going to know. Like I'm going to go in prepared whenever I draft next month. I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to know. So when first basemen start flying off, I'm going to go through my cheat sheets and I'm like, oh, what first baseman's left? Blah blah blah. So ADP usually does go well through the 3rd, 4th round. Am I right? I'm sort of right, maybe not. You get a few tricky guys that'll go.
I was gonna say, like in your situation, like you have like, all right, whatever. There's a group of first basemen you like, and you go, all right, I'm gonna grab one of these 3, right? But don't you think at the same time, like, what, like, well, if they're gone, then I'm gonna go draft a pitcher, and I'll come back this in the 10th round,
right?
You know, because I know that the 4th guy is going to be a guy that I don't have to draft this high, and that's the whole ADP evaluation, and that's what the industry does is by having ESPN put out stuff and these guys put out ranks and ADP. It moves everybody into a general line, and it lets me see into the heads of most of the people that I want to see. And the crazy thing about it is the more that they're in tune with the industry, the easier it is to understand what they're going to draft next, because they tell you, they publish it.
Right.
They'll have a podcast where they go, I'm going A, B, and C, and D. And I'll listen to that podcast when I'm going up, in leagues where I've gone up against guys like, Paul Sport, whatever, like, all right, I know who he wants, and I can put my guys in with the thing.
Right.
Why wouldn't you do that?
But kind of what you were doing, when I'm preparing, because what Jim was just saying about first baseman, I don't even do that much. But what I will do is I will go at the very bottom, and I'll obviously I try to circle 1 or 2 people at most positions at the very bottom, meaning, and what I do is if I go, okay, shit, I just now have to punt first base because I, maybe should have grabbed, but I stretched or did whatever. But I always go, okay, this guy I have is, an ADP is 15th, 18th round. Yeah, now I'm probably going to take him in the 12th, but I've already in my mind went, if any position goes out of whack, I have some people that I know I can get. I'm just going to have to now grab them 2 rounds earlier, because in my book, I'd rather get a guy that's been going in the 15th, now in the 12th, so that I at least have a second baseman, then I stretched and grabbed a second baseman in the 6th that probably could have got in the 8th. So I would rather take maybe that 3rd outfielder in the 6th or something where maybe I would go, where I see other people go, no, I really need a second baseman. I'm taking him in the 6th round because I don't want to take, what I'm saying? Because I think where people forget is you got somebody else. It's not like you missed out. You drafted somebody else. So when people give me these arguments, I'm like, but the guy you end up getting, how'd he do? Well, they don't even remember who they drafted in the 6th spot instead of a second baseman, but they're all upset that their second base sucks. But at the same time, not telling you, but I got 3 great outfielders because you drafted him there. I've been doing fantasy not near as long as you guys. I'm only like 6 years. If there's one thing I figured out, if you're in a decent league, you have a weekness. Period. There is a weakness somewhere. So my argument is I don't draft for that weakness, but I understand I'd rather reach rounds 15 and 16, and push those up to 12 or 13 than necessarily reach. And that's why, to me, I don't go by ADP, but at the same time, if I'm drafting with guys that are using ADP, I'm willing to gamble a little more in that 5th and 6th, 7th round, trying to get real good value there. And then I'll reach later to fill that spot. And that's just kind of, and it's worked. I've been competitive in most leagues that I'm in, but I get it. People, if you're playing with 12, 15 really good guys, that's harder to do because those guys also know who they can get in the 15th and 14th also, so it's a little bit harder.
And they also add those, like, for example, last year was the first year I played in a center, what's it called? The CI, MI.
Right. Yeah.
So
center.
For example, Yeah. So, for example, my strategy this year, and Doug was just saying that Steve Pearce doesn't have a spot. But so in my big league that I've been in forever, which is still my favorite, it's still just a trophy league. I've been doing this that long. I don't care, but I still play all year long. We have 12 guys that play. I'm not going to draft first baseman. My plan is we have a pretty decent roster size, Doug. So my plan is I'm going to draft Steve Pearce and Mitch Moreland. at the end of the draft. And what am I going to do? I'm going to go to MLB lineups every day, and whatever guy is in, I'm going to put him in. And Mitch Moreland and Steve Pearce are probably going to get, what do you think, 37, 40 home runs, Doug? Combined.
Yeah.
So you're getting a first base.
That's a little high. I would say probably low 30s, like 33.
Okay, so which one's getting
25 from one and 14 from another, or something like that, right?
Yeah, so that's.
I guess it is high 30s.
Okay, yeah. So and that would be an awesome first baseman, correct?
You're also taking. I mean, yeah, that would be awesome first baseman, but then you also have the opportunity cost of whatever that spot of your roster is holding. That might be that you can't have an eighth pitcher that helps you with wins and strikeouts,
but I think, like I just said, Dan.
But see, once again, this comes to the we can only start. This league is that strict. You only start one pitcher. You have 7 starts per week, so you can't mess around with streaming. Like you have 7 starts. You basically. Okay. So I mean, like I don't need to worry about that. It's not right. Where it's not like it's.
I mean, every league I have has rules against streaming, but if it just happens that your luck is that you have 2 guys that start on Monday and on Sunday, you generally get to use those guys for both days.
That's where you have to think about it. You have 7 starts per week, so you have to look at matchups. Like you know what I'm saying? It's actually a great league. To be honest.
Are you setting? Is this a roto or head to head?
No, it's head to head.
Okay, so you're setting a lineup once a week or daily?
No, every day. Okay. Head to head every day. So what I'm saying is, and the rosters are still fairly big, Doug. So like those 2 guys, I'm not actually going to lose that. I'm not going to have to worry about what you're saying because I'm going to draft pitching pretty early in my mind. And those,
I've sort of done that in the past with the catcher position. I remember a couple of years ago.
But everyone does that with catcher position.
Well, the thing is, but the difference between catchers and first base is there actually are really good first.
Well, we're 2.5 hours, but let me ask one more question of what Jim was just saying, because Jim, I understand fully what you're saying there, but now you go in with that strategy, and I don't even know. Here's the problem. I mean, I don't know who would fall down, but let's say it's a Rizzo or a Votto, or somebody, and you go, oh shit, he just fell to me. What a great value. I'm going to punt what I thought I was going to do. Or because, or do you say, no, I'm sticking with my guns. I'm not going to take Votto here, even though he's a steal. I'm going to go ahead and take this second baseman or this outfield because I know I'm getting these 2 first basemen later.
No, because first of all, these, like I said, it's a pretty competitive league. It's like playing with all of us. You know what I mean? So right. Votto's not going to fall. He's not going to fall far enough for them to go away from. And it's only a 1 catcher league, Doug. Because I know you were talking about catchers. No, I mean, I don't like 2 catcher leagues.
I see your point. Like you're looking at, you could draft Mitch Moreland, who's going to be like a 275th pick,
100%,
and Steve Pearce might go 350. It's like, let's let you get things elsewhere. And it's a reasonable strategy. I find that. I've played in a lot of different leagues at every different spot. Unless it's a weekly league where you only set your lineup once a week, I'm always wanting one more roster spot for somebody. And unless I really...
Yeah, but there's a chance both of them go off too, right? I mean, you even have that where both of them could actually, end up, being a starter, period.
Well, they both be really good. No, I think Moreland was radically underrated last year.
100%.
And I've liked Pearce for a long time, but he's always sort of been a platoon specialist, a very good one at times. And he was very good in the playoffs, but he wasn't that great throughout the year. It was just sort of a fluky thing that he saved up his great performance when it was most
right.
But
the problem is back to what Jim said, though. Jim, you just said it. This draft is with a bunch of competitive people. There's not going to be those fallers or those whatever. But unfortunately, still, most people that would listen to fantasy shows or read, online stuff or whatever are still drafting where 6 or 7 of the people don't know what they're doing, and people fall. And and at that point, you have to be willing to say, hey, I didn't want to take a first baseman here, but I cannot pass up Rizzo in the 7th round. So you have to punt it, because here's the problem with what you said, Jim. If you take that strategy and then someone else has a similar strategy, or someone grabs one of those 1 round sooner than you think, then you're like, oh shit, now I only have one of them,
100%.
And that's why I could never pass up on the value over need, because I to me, value trumps need especially to me in the first half of most drafts. So it makes it harder, because again, like you said, in a competitive league, there's a chance someone else has the same thought you have, which is, hey, I'm going to punt that guy. And unfortunately, and you know that too, and especially in football, you get 3 people punting on a particular position. Next thing you know, now you have someone that dropped. That's the point. If 3 people are punting on first baseman, now somebody probably dropped because not as many got drafted as you thought would go in the first, so many rounds. So,
but getting back to Doug real quick about just real quick, I know we're going late, but
yeah, go ahead.
The problem is last year was my first year I did roto. In my first year, I did week to week, and it's the most frustrating thing when you have those guys in there. And let's say Tuesday they get pulled, and Wednesday
I hate it.
know isn't that?
I don't like weekly leagues either. But in a weekly league, then your bench is really bench. If you're in a daily league, I'm sitting there going, every single spot is something I'm going to use. My relief pitchers are going to go in when I don't have starting pitcher starters because I want to bring my ERA down. I'm always going to draft. If I have a 5 outfielder league, I'm going to draft a 6th outfielder because somebody's going to have a day off, and I'm going to slide the 6th outfielder in there. I don't have the space, to do this platooning at a position. Now, when I did it at a catcher 1 year, it worked out reasonably well for a while, but I didn't do it for the whole season. But I was sort of forced into that corner because things were just so bad. Whereas at first base, there are so many guys that I like reasonably well. Like if I were to take here's a guy way down the list. If I were to draft just like a CJ Cron, and then I have this other spot for somebody.
Yeah, but he's the same as Mitch Moreland.
That's going to be better. Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Let's say that, let's take it that way. It's like you have Mitch Moreland and Steve Pierce, and I have Mitch Moreland and an empty roster spot that I can do things with. I can cover for an injury. I can, pick up the hot guy for the week. I can. I think I'm going to beat you with Moreland and somebody else versus Moreland and Pierce.
Okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think one of the beauties of baseball of fantasy baseball compared to any other is that there are about 7 different types of strategies I've seen work.
100%.
2 or 3 of them I can't make work for me. It's like that got steamrolled. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's part of the fun of the thing.
Oh, that's why we play.
It may work.
Well, that's what makes the game fun too. I mean, if it was just one strategy, it would be boring, right?
Well, that's the football strategy.
No, it is. You guys say that, but I disagree.
One strategy. You guys all do what Matthew Berry says.
Do you want to talk football?
The world.
No, we are going to talk football. We will talk football down the road.
In football, easy. 2.
Well, but
that's it. No running back or the. What do you mean?
No, I mean you say that, but to me,
you draft the kicker in the last round or the second to last round. I mean,
and don't do that either. Don't do that either.
Yeah, I don't. Right.
I drafted.
That's another strategy. I don't draft one at all.
Oh well, that's not going to work.
No, I know. In my main league, I don't have to draft a kicker. I'll pick one up the week before we play. I will draft players because that way, if somebody gets hurt or something happens, there's no way I don't draft a kicker. I'll pick one up one day. On Friday, I'll pick up a kicker for the first game. But I don't draft one. I'd rather pick a rookie or somebody that might start.
No, that's baloney. Head to head, a kicker or a defense can win a league. And if you want to listen to these people tell, I was just in a league with these guys that said the same thing, and I won with the kicker. I had Justin Tucker. He won me many weeks. So I don't want to hear this. I've heard this. Don't draft the kicker.
But you didn't draft Tucker in the last round. My point is,
no, they were telling me to.
Okay,
that's not a good philosophy.
That's back to you said only 2 strategies. No, I agree that a strategy can be to take a kicker in the 12th or 13th round instead of the 16th or the 17th. That's a strategy. But my strategy is pick a player there, and I'll take a player in the 18th, and I'll pick up a kicker. You can stream kickers and defenses and be competitive if you have a good team throughout the rest of your lineup. I've done it. If
you do, but you never know after draft day.
No, but at the same time, how many leagues this year picked the Jaguars as the number 1 defense, and some of them picked them in the 12th round, and they weren't.
Not me.
I didn't either, but I didn't pick. I didn't pick any defense. That's my point.
Really?
So, guys, I appreciate you coming on tonight and leaving me not by myself. Again, I always will sit here at 9:30 and go, will anybody show up? One of these days
I'd be here. I was like, I know. I'm not scared to go away.
but you're not. I have other people that say they'll be here and then at 10 o'clock aren't here. My point is,
vacation. I'm on vacation, man. But we can do this till 2.
We can do this till 2. I gotta go to work. Doug? Now, are you ready? Doug, I think would do it too.
I would do it just because I'm sick that way, but I just have to get up. I have to get up. Well,
if Andrea popped on right now, Andrea, I didn't even see Andrea in the chat room tonight. Normally, she's at least in the chat room. But
last week I hung out. They had a separate thing afterwards. I got to get yelled at on that.
I did that too. I was with you, Doug. Remember, I finally had to leave at like 2 in the morning. I finally had to say I'm out of here.
How many times I get made in fun of last week?
Hardly any.
I don't think you remember it. Until you brought it up, I didn't remember you doing anything weird. I thought the week before about Babe Ruth.
It was fun, but I had this thing when I drank, and it wasn't. I love New York people. It wasn't anything to do with that. If I remember correctly, I said it was more of a. I'm kind of feisty. I don't mind fighting. Like I've been a fighter for a long time, so I just remember somebody saying something to me that was like, calling me like an idiot, and I was just like, whoa, because I remember saying, who said that? I just remember saying that, and I was like, I got to get off this before I get in trouble, and I don't remember who said.
Well, that was the only thing that really concerned me is that you just left.
Because I was, dude, I was like, whoa, I was like, just because I'm not from New York doesn't mean I was going to kick some ass, but I didn't get that far.
I enjoyed it. I'm just saying, I enjoyed it, and I enjoy this show. I am like you guys. I can't. And you guys, Doug's done enough with me now, and Jim, you've been here a couple times. I do think different than most of you guys, which I think helps, because I will throw out an opinion or something that you guys, but I also think, that's what makes this show fun. We can talk about different stuff. And actually, I think the last couple of shows we've kind of stayed online. I know last year we got more onto the industry, but it still was fantasy. But, I mean, we've had some weird conversations about cereals and, commercials. And I still have a question. On here that I want to get to because I find it interesting. And that is top athletes that have become actors. And I'm not just talking, Michael Jordan being in one movie. I'm talking people who actually went into acting and became, made it a career, but at the same time had to really have been a real athlete, and it's actually an interesting, I find an interesting list and because I did it, and I forgot his name. The guy who fought Rocky in the first two. Is his name?
Apollo Creed.
Yeah, but what's his real name?
Oh my gosh, he was in Predator too.
Yeah, he was in multiple. My point is, I consider him an actor, but he played professional football. Now he wasn't a superstar, but he played. Alex Karras was an actor. I mean, huh?
Who the hell is that?
He was a lineman. He was a Hall of Fame lineman for the Rams, and then
he was Webster's dad.
Yeah, Webster's dad. But he's also the guy who hits the. Have you ever seen Blazing Saddles?
Yeah,
the guy who knocks out the bull in the center of town. He hits the Mongo. Mongo is Alex Karras, a Hall of Famer for the Rams. So that's my point. He was offensive lineman, wasn't he? And then there's actually football seems to be the most common one where people play football and become
Carl Weathers. I didn't use my phone.
There you go.
Like, come on.
But unfortunately, on my list, and now we're going to end up making the topic. To me, the guy who's at the top of the list that was the best athlete, meaning was a really good athlete and ended up being not a great actor, but did a lot of movies and was stars in movies. Got a guess?
Shaquille O'Neal.
You're going to say The Rock, but then wrestling isn't a.
Oh, that's a good point. Damn.
The Rock did play college football. Some people would say that might count.
Like a week.
But that's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about a Hall of Fame all-star athlete. There you go. O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson starred in movies. He did TV shows. He truly was an actor. Some people would know him as an actor as much as they know him. So yes, to me, the top of that list is O.J. Simpson because he was greatly successful both. Now, Jim Brown is just under him. Jim Brown actually was in a lot of movies in the 60s and 70s. So, and obviously a Hall of Fame running back. So, James Brown also did some acting.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaquille O'Neal was close.
Kazam.
Right, but that's my point. He's only done a few movies. Now, did you any of you seen Uncle Drew yet?
I didn't see that.
Uncle Drew. It's on HBO right now.
No, the Chris Paul.
Yes.
Who does?
Yes, and you do see Shaq's ass in it. Shaq is funny in it. The whole thing is,
dude. He's a riot anyways.
Huh?
He's so funny. He's funny anyways.
Yeah, he's funny. Even my wife cracked up. The movie is pretty funny, but the best part is Weber. What's his name? Chris Weber. Chris Weber plays the guy called Preacher in this. And no one else, my family didn't laugh at this part, but in the final, the big game of trust me, this is I'm not giving away the movie, but in the final game, they come out of a timeout and the guy plays Drew comes over and, to Preacher and he goes, Preacher, we got no more timeouts. And, Preacher goes, yeah, we do. I'm pretty sure we have one more. And he goes, no, we have no more timeouts. I started, because I watched that game live when Chris Webber calls that timeout.
Let's talk about that game.
But my point is it's funny because Chris Webber is only he's not even the character. He just happens to be the actor that's playing that role, but they're making the joke because of the actor itself. I would recommend it's funny if you know the guys in the movie, and Shaquille O'Neal is hysterical in it.
He's a riot.
Yeah, he is pretty funny.
He's been funny.
He cracks me up.
And he's a rapper. You don't have the Shaq Diesel album back in the 90s. I'm sure you don't.
I never owned that. I never owned that. Any other actors? Anybody else? See, I was even trying to come up. The hard one for me was baseball. I couldn't come up with too many baseball players. Like I said, it mainly was football and basketball. They all seemed to get into acting. I couldn't come up with the baseball guy.
Bob Uecker.
Bobby Uecker. Did Uecker ever play?
He played for Milwaukee.
Yeah, he played
so he played, not just an announcer. Yeah. So he was.
Did he played for Milwaukee?
I always thought he was an announcer because
I might be wrong.
I'd be curious. I would give Uecker that. If Uecker truly played baseball, I just always looked at him as just an announcer. So maybe I'm just off on that one.
Mr. Belvedere is the most underrated show ever.
Mr. Belvedere, he's funny in that.
He's a riot.
And I'm sorry, in the commercials, was it Miller Lite? In the commercials where he has the shitty seats back in the day, they would put him behind a post or whatever, or he'd be way up. He was way up in the stands. I'm just saying, it was just funny whenever he did it. But
guys got me thinking.
I can't. Right. Okay. But that's going to be a topic for another night anyway. I wasn't even going to bring it up because that's the point of the round table is I don't want you guys looking this shit up and then bringing it. What?
Well, Doug?
No one's listening at 12:45 anyway. The guy I like Terry Crews.
Terry Crews, the big muscle guy?
He played.
Yeah, the big muscle guy, right?
He played football for about 7 games for the Raiders.
Well, that's my point. There's a few people. Right,
he's way ahead of The Rock. He literally played 7. He was on the practice squad for 2 years. He was actually a professional player.
But see, I think
he played the president in Idiocracy.
Right. Who's the guy Smoking the Bandit just passed away a few years ago? Or a few months ago, right? Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds played for Alabama, but I don't think he ever played pro ball and then went on to act. So,
was he a linebacker?
I don't know.
What did he do at Alabama?
I thought he was a running back. He might not have been a starter, but I thought for sure he was on Alabama's college football team.
Was Alabama or Florida?
Huh? Oh, you know what? Florida Gators. You're right. Because he plays a character called Gator. You're right. Florida Gators, not Alabama, somebody else. Oh, what about Terry Bradshaw? Would we count Terry Bradshaw as an actor? Terry Bradshaw's in a lot of movies, and he's been on some TV shows.
He just did the singing show that my wife makes me watch.
That was a joke.
Oh, well, you know about that, though?
I know he was on it.
It sang. Costume?
Yeah.
Horrible.
But Terry Bradshaw has also been in movies. Terry Bradshaw used to be funny and back in the day. So I don't know. We'll talk about it some other day. I don't even know how many more there are. And are there some outside? Are there Olympics people? Are there people we're not even thinking of? That you would go, hey, wait, they were athletes first. I've never seen Tiger Woods in a movie or TV show or anything. I don't even know.
Well, what's her name? I always hear those weird stories. Like Gina Davis was an Olympic finalist for for archery.
Yeah, but
right?
okay, that's my point. Though they barely were athletes.
I
That doesn't count. Like counting that shit.
I love Gina Davis. You got to count that.
Gina Davis was hot for a minute.
Was that movie with Samuel L. Jackson back in like '96? Where she was a killer.
Unfortunately, I thought she was hot in The Fly. That was where she was at her peak there. The Fly.
But
huh?
I don't know if she was a peak. Her peak was definitely in the '90s because she did A League of Her Own, and she did that '90s movie I just told you about where she would like kill people with Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah,
so The Fly was not her peak. The '90s were her peak. League of Her Own's great.
When did she do the what she plays the ghost? What Beetlejuice or whatever?
Yeah, Beetlejuice. That was Beetlejuice. But then she was in Thelma and Louise, right?
But isn't she in like some movie like Martian Girls or something? There's like somewhere there's like
Girls Gone Easy or Earth Girls Gone.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
she might be. Jim Carrey's in that.
Yeah, she was.
One of Jim Carrey's first things actually.
No, Gina Davis peaked in the '90s, late '80s.
I'm old.
Maybe was '89-ish.
Yeah,
I probably put her over the. I wish I could remember that movie because I was in the military when I saw that movie. Actually,
I'm Gina Davis.
I vaguely remember it.
Samuel L. Jackson trained her.
Samuel L. Jackson is in every movie.
Dude, that guy's got money just.
Well, I think they've even said he's been in more money-making movies than anybody. Meaning, it's not even close because he does the Star Wars movies. He did all the the Jurassic Park movies. I mean, if it's a hit, he's in it or been in it. I mean, and now he's in all the damn Marvel. Is it Marvel? One of the comic book ones. He's like the
Avengers. I think I don't watch them.
No, he's not like he comes on and says one line, but he's at least in them.
That's it. Then he gets like $1 million.
He plays the head of Shield.
He's like, fuck it.
And he still can't make enough money. He has to sell fucking credit cards.
He just is smart.
Come on.
Snakes in the plane.
That's a terrible movie.
I've never seen it, but
we are close. The thing is, we just said again, we're going to go another half.
If we're going, I got to go to the bathroom.
Okay, but Charles. Now we'll be done here though. I cannot wait for the March Madness because I love the commercials with Barkley and him, the credit card commercials where they do all together, where they're driving to the
Capital.
Yeah. Who's the other guy though? It's Barkley and the guy we just
sits in the New York seats.
Spike Lee. The three of them in a car driving somewhere, or Barkley last year taking off his clothes to be ready to do shit. I was cracking up. Those, I think, are pretty funny commercials.
You can't tell me you wouldn't hang out with Barkley.
Barkley,
hang out with Barkley in a heartbeat.
That'll be another topic. To me, that's a fun roundtable topic. I think we kind of talked about if you could play. Again, I don't think you guys were on there yet. We did something similar to that where it was like not hang out, but go out to dinner or play that sport with that one person. Who would it be? And obviously, everyone picks the big names.
Westbrook. No, yeah. The Oklahoma City guy. He's a freaking riot too. Russell Westbrook, right?
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook. Yeah. Oh my God, I would love to hang out with him, dude.
But I do think though, and if we just took each sport in basketball, though, wouldn't it? It would have to be, wouldn't Shaq be the one? I mean, who else would you hang out? I mean, Shaq.
No, I don't think so.
No, come on.
I don't know.
Shaq for a day would be hysterical. Because I believe Shaq is who he is. Meaning, I think I wouldn't be disappointed.
They're all, dude. Russell Westbrook is who he is. I mean,
okay, you're right.
He's like, screw you. I'm just going to wear purple shorts and a purple hat when I walk into the stadium.
Right.
I think he's pretty funny.
When I was in college, Shaq lived around here, and he had his own private chef. Who he bought a restaurant. He bought a restaurant for just so he'd have something to do when he was on road trips. So the restaurant was only open when they were on road trips. A buddy of mine installed his toilet because it was a monstrous toilet, right?
Had to be.
Right? Yeah, I was saying, he's like a size 18, 19 shoe.
24.
Steve calls me.
It is in the toilet.
He goes, my friend Steve goes, you got to see this toilet. He brought over 7 of us. We went into Shaquille's place while he's in Los Angeles or something on a road trip. He's she showed her this toilet, literally a 5-foot guy could swim in it. And I'm a tall
7
guy.
of you pissed in it at the same time, right? It was you didn't even have to cross.
No. We treated it with every piece of respect that Shaquille O'Neal's toilet should have. But the best thing about it was when he came back, the guy said the toilet's in, whatever. It's did you bring people over and show him that? He knew that we did that. He did that. He did. He knew that because it is like the guy had to special order a toilet for a 7'2" guy.
And he's a professional sheriff or a police officer, believe it or not. I believe.
Off duty, right? I think he is a sheriff.
But he went to school, I believe, for it.
Yeah.
No, he.
All right. I got like 4 minutes, and both of my machines are on a 3-hour timer. We're going to say we're done.
Is anybody in the chat room?
Jim, do you do a show on this network with 87 million podcasts going on? Do you do one?
I do not. And
not yet. Okay.
I last year was a huge problem. I think it was brought up to me last year because I live in Maine and so does Kevin, or it might have been a year and a half ago. And last year was a really bad year for me. I've told you guys.
Well, that's fine. I just wanted to give you a second to pub yourself if you were. That's all.
No, sorry, I don't do anything. I felt like I've been kicked off this network about 15 million times. This might be being personal.
Well, thanks for coming tonight. I hope you come back, even when you start working. Doug, we got like 2 minutes. Your show's what? Saturday at 10.
Saturday at 10 o'clock, come and watch really bad engineering and a really interesting show.
Really bad engineering. All right. Again, I apologize. I can't help you guys much with sound because I don't do it the way any of you guys are doing it. So it's a struggle for me to help anybody. Well, if anyone ever wants to call and say, okay, Easy, I'm willing to spend some money, you idiot. What did you do? What can I buy? And I'll help you. Trust me, I have a closet of shit I bought that I shouldn't have. That's the wrong stuff.
I know the problem's not just me because you heard from
right last week. It was your right. I could hear you fine. It was your other guy. So.
I've said this before. I'm using Motorola headphones from a 2005 cell phone that we had hanging around.
Jim, you sounded good. Cha-Cha did sound great tonight. I don't care what anybody said. That mic, whatever he was using tonight, was a ton better.
Until his wife came in and beat that ass.
I thought it was Dan because Dan had just trust me, Mrs. E. I've told her multiple times I'll move the studio to another area, and she's like, "No, I deal with it. It's only once a week." But then she'll come in. I go into bed at 2 a.m. and she'll go, "Who are you yelling at?" I said, "Last week it was Jim."
Guys, I kept it kosher.
You're a good guy. All right,
I kept it quiet.
All right, I only have one more thing to pub, and that's me tomorrow night with Chris for an hour at 10 o'clock. Lenny should be back tomorrow morning at 9 talking, I'm sure, about Mr. Manny Machado signing. That'll be a big conversation tomorrow. Guys, thanks again for coming. Hope you come back next week. Anyone else out there? Anyone? I don't think anyone's listening, but anyone's listening, don't just stay in the chat room. Get on the show. I'll put the link in there. See you guys next Tuesday if you want to come back on. Otherwise, I'll see you in the chat room. Guys, say goodnight.
Good night, everybody. Have a good day.
This has been Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. And to keep your fantasies going, follow us at justafantasyfan.com. Say good night. Good night.